Chapter 597. The bloody mist was mournful as it floated in the air, and the pieces of flesh splattered everywhere. Please search product %book %yin net to see the most complete. A novel. One of the 9 Dragon Mark arts, Myriad Dragons Kill. Lin Tian used the Dragon Burial Array as the foundation to activate this peerless dragon technique, directly annihilating the 2 of them. It completely exploded? Is he dead? Outside God Burial Mountain, everyone was dumbfounded. He knows the complete dragon burial scripture. That is celestial venerable dragon burials. Someone trembled. It was too shocking. Looking at Lin Tian, everyone's hearts began to beat wildly, without any rhythm. Ah! An angry roar sounded. Inside the God Burying Mountain, pieces of flesh trembled and quickly merged into one, wriggling at a rapid speed. Soon, the Supreme Elder of the Golden Fire Tao Gate and the purple-robed Elder of the Phaseless Immortal Sect reformed their perfect bodies. Beast, you actually know the complete dragon burial scripture. You deliberately led us to a place like the God Burial Mountain, The purple-robed Elder was furious. The complete dragon burial scripture was said to be able to draw the power of heaven and earth to battle, and the God Burial Mountain happened to be a well-known terrifying terrain. At this moment, the old man finally understood why Lin Tian could injure a great Tao realm powerhouse like him time and time again. It turned out that he didn't rely on his own strength, but the power of the God Burial Mountain. From the beginning until now, they weren't simply fighting against Lin Tian, but more importantly, they were fighting against the entire God Burial Mountain. Sinister thief. Damn it, this old man won't let you off. I will definitely kill you. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. The Golden Fire Tao Gate Elder roared. The purple-robed Elder's eyes were also sinister as he clenched his fists. A dignified great Tao realm powerhouse was tricked like this and had his body shattered several times in front of everyone. It was too humiliating. Look at your current state and then look around. Do you think you still have a chance? Lin Tian said indifferently. The Golden Fire Tao Gate's Supreme Elder and the purple-robed Elder were shocked when they heard this. At this moment, the 2 of them were trapped in the middle. The half-step Great Tao Realm Black Flood Dragon was looking down at them. The 5 Great Tao Realm Ancient Corpses were staring at them. Hundreds of destruction dragons and dense, eternal killing lights surrounded them. Lin Tian was guarding one side. As for them, their divine power was less than 10%. For a moment, the 2 of them couldn't help but reveal some panic in their eyes. I already said that once you step into this place, there is only one ending for you, and that is death. Lin Tiandao. As his words fell, the great dragon roared. Murderous light trembled as it rushed towards the 2. The 5 ancient corpses also moved. The black mist of death surged and ruthlessly attacked the 2 individuals. At the same time, the black flood dragon roared. Baleful energy surged, submerging these 2 individuals. Pooh! Pooh! The 2 of them exploded again. Blood dyed the sky red, and bits of flesh and bones flew in all directions. However, very soon, these pieces of flesh rushed together again, and the 2 people's bodies condensed again. The 2 of them roared in anger. Their faces were ashen as they stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. Let's see how many times you can reassemble your bodies. Lin Tiandao. The 5 ancient corpses no longer attacked. They guarded the 4 directions. He only used the Dragon Burial Formation and the Eternal Killing Formation to kill the 2 of them. As for the Black Flood Dragon, it spat out a black light that surged towards the 2 of them with a power that could corrode everything. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them exploded again. Ah! The 2 of them roared as their bodies reassembled. Their faces were even more ashen and resentful. Of course, they were also even paler. Defeated. The 2 great Tao realm powerhouses are already no match for him. Everyone trembled. At this moment, everything could be seen very clearly. The Grand Elder of the Golden Fire Tao Gate and the purple-robed old man of the Phaseless Immortal Sect, the 2 great Tao realm powerhouses, had been defeated. Beast! The purple-robed old man roared. Unfortunately, he was shattered again in the next moment. The Grand Elder of the Golden Fire, Dao Gate, roared. Like the purple-robed old man, the body that he condensed shattered again. The two of them roared and reassembled their bodies. They stared at Lin Tian with resentment. Let's rush out together. In this place, he controls the dragon burial scripture and engraved a grand array. In this place, he is naturally invincible. The purple-robed old man gritted his teeth. Let's go. The Grand Elder of the Golden Fire, Dao Gate, nodded. Knowing that Lin Tian had grasped the complete dragon burial scripture and that he had less than 10% of his divine power, the two of them didn't stay any longer. They grabbed a direction and directly fled outside. You want to escape? Lin Tianling smiled. In the surroundings, dragons roared and killing lights interweaved, pressing down on the two of them like waves. You, pooh, pooh. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were shattered again. Pieces of flesh floated in the air, but as if there was an internal attraction, they quickly gathered towards the center. The pieces of flesh that gathered together wriggled. After a few breaths, the two of them reassembled their bodies again. The time it takes for you to reassemble your bodies has become longer, Lin Tiantan said calmly. In the beginning, the two of them could reassemble their shattered bodies in a single breath. But now, they needed 6 breaths of time to do so. The two of them trembled, and their faces turned ashen. From the beginning of the battle until now, they had suffered 2 heavy injuries. Their blood and chi had been severely depleted, and they were already at their weakest. At this time, it was difficult to reassemble their bodies, and it would naturally take a long time. Lin Tiantan smiled coldly. With a thought, all kinds of killing lights pressed down. Boom! For the Grand Elder and the purple-robed old man of the Golden Fire Dao Gate, this was a great disaster. The two of them didn't even have 10% of their divine power. How could they resist the Dragon Burial Array and the Eternal Killing Array? Moreover, at the same time, on the other side, the half-step Great Dao Realm Black Dragon also launched an attack. The terrifying murderous aura destroyed them in the blink of an eye. Pooh! Pooh! After being shattered again and again, the two of them couldn't even reassemble their bodies after a quarter of an hour. However, Lin Tianyi repeatedly attacked with the Dragon of Destruction and the Eternal Killing Light, but it was still difficult to completely kill the two of them. At this moment, 2 lumps of minced meat floated in the air, wriggling continuously as they screamed and roared. Damn beast. So what if you keep shattering us? In the end, you can't kill us. The purple-robed old man's voice sounded. Great Dao Realm cultivators have immortal souls. Only those who also possess Dao laws can completely kill us. Even if you control the complete Dragon Burial Scripture, it's useless. You can injure us, but you can't kill us no matter what. Outside God Burial Mountain, the crowd was moved. This indeed, it seems that only those who also possess Dao laws can completely kill Great Dao Realm cultivators. Someone muttered to himself. Roar! The black dragon roared. An array of black light rushed out, smashing the purple-robed old man's minced meat even more. I'm immortal! The purple-robed old man roared, but his voice was slightly weaker. Immortal? What a joke! Lin Tian was disdainful and took a step forward. Even those as strong as the 9 heavenly venerables don't dare to call themselves immortal. You, a mere Great Dao Realm cultivator, actually dare to mention immortal? Do you really think that only those who possess Dao laws can kill you? Buzz! His glabella lit up, and he directly propped up the yin-yang lotus sea. This was the phenomenon of his sea of consciousness. It was born to restrain all spiritual bodies. It could sever one's sea of consciousness, shatter one's soul, and destroy evil spirits. You, what are you doing? The purple-robed old man and the golden fire Dao Gate's Grand Elder spoke. At this moment, the 2 lumps of minced meat trembled with fear. Clearly, the two of them felt threatened. Something to kill you. Lin Tianan Dao. As soon as he finished speaking, the yin-yang lotus sea trembled and directly condensed into one, transforming into a black and white lotus sword. Yin and yang interweaved, revealing black and white, clanging and humming. The remains of the golden-fired Tao Gates Grand Elder and the purple-robed old man from the phaseless immortal sect trembled even more violently. They clearly felt the threat of death and used their souls to control the remains of their bodies to quickly escape. However, their blood and chi were insufficient now, so they couldn't condense a complete body. Their speed was very slow. In addition, there was the black dragon and 5 ancient corpses guarding the surroundings. So how could they escape? Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing, and the lotus sword directly pressed down. With a poof, accompanied by a shrill scream, the golden-fired Tao Gates Grand Elder's minced meat was directly annihilated. This time, not even a drop of blood was left. It was as if it had evaporated, and no more sounds were heard. This time, his body and soul were truly destroyed. The Zephyr Realm has no Tao laws. He killed a great Tao realm expert. That lotus is a phenomenon in the sea of consciousness. That black and white is the yin-yang light. Everyone trembled. A great Tao cultivator had already comprehended a trace of the great Tao, controlled the Tao laws, and also cultivated an independent soul. It was very difficult to kill them. Generally, only an expert who also possessed the Tao laws could kill a great Tao cultivator. However, now, Lin Tian directly killed 2 great Tao cultivators with the cultivation of the Zephyr Realm and destroyed their souls, causing the crowd to tremble. In the God Burial Mountain, the lotus sword trembled and aimed at the remaining minced meat of the purple-robed old man from the phaseless immortal sect. "No, don't kill me. I swear that I won't make things difficult for you in the future," the purple-robed old man said. Not many people were not afraid of death. "Do you think I will believe you?" Lin Tian was disdainful. "You die." There was nothing much to say. The lotus sword pressed down, and with a puff, the remaining minced meat of the purple-robed old man was annihilated. Such a scene caused the crowd outside the God Burial Mountain to tremble violently. Dead. 2 great Tao cultivators, their bodies and souls were destroyed. Many people trembled. A Zephyr Realm cultivator killed 2 great Tao cultivators. At this moment, everyone was stunned and almost stunned. Lin Tian stood on the God Burial Mountain. He tilted his head and looked out of the mountain range. His gaze was very calm. Originally, he was just casually looking out of the God Burial Mountain and didn't have any special intention. However, this caused the crowd to tremble. Everyone retreated together with a horrified expression on their faces. In the battle just now, Lin Tian had killed 2 great Tao realm experts. Now, facing Lin Tian's gaze, how could the crowd not be afraid? Roar! The black flood dragon followed Lin Tian's gaze and directly let out a roar that shook the sky. Its murderous aura surged out of the mountain. This time, the crowd could be said to be completely terrified. They immediately scattered in all directions, and no one looked in this direction anymore. Moreover, the battle had already ended, and there was nothing else to see here. With the black flood dragon's roar, these people naturally scattered. Lin Tian smiled slightly. This black flood dragon wanted to kill him in the past. After he let it go, it was now protecting him. First, it rushed out to slap the Golden Flames Tao Gates Grand Elder. Now, he just casually glanced outside, and the black flood dragon thought that he didn't like being watched. It directly roared at the crowd, causing all the onlookers to retreat. He paused for a moment, looked at the black flood dragon, and said, "Are you willing to leave with me? Let's roam the world together." The black flood dragon lowered its head and stared at Lin Tian. Then, it looked in the direction of the celestial pool. Finally, its gaze landed on Lin Tian again. Black light flickered, and its monster body quickly shrank, finally turning into about 2 inches long. With a leap, it climbed onto Lin Tian's shoulder. A half-step great Tao realm flood dragon could freely shrink its monster body. Lin Tian smiled and didn't say anything else. He turned around and walked out of the God Burial Mountain. That pair of siblings also came to the 3rd heaven. I wonder where they are now. Chapter 598. Counting carefully, Lin Tian found that he had been in the third heaven for almost a year. Adding the year he spent in the first heaven from the second heaven, it has been 2 years since he returned to the first heaven. When he first returned to the second heaven, he went to the Bai family. The Bai family's patriarch, Bai Chiu, had been waiting for him for a long time. In the end, he reluctantly stepped into the third heaven with Bai Ziki. Thinking about it, he couldn't help but feel guilty. Go find her, he muttered to himself. He stepped out of the god burial mountain, walked down in a direction, and disappeared into the distance. Not much time passed, and soon, the entire heaven was in an uproar. Lin Tian challenged the phaseless immortal sect at the foot of the god burial mountain. The 8th supreme elder of the phaseless immortal sect led more than 20 immortal realm powerhouses to kill them. Then, the supreme elder of the golden flames Dao Gate also arrived, but in the end, everyone was killed in the god burial mountain. Blood dyed a large area of the ground red. This matter spread throughout the third heaven as if it had grown wings. What? The 8th supreme elder of the phaseless immortal sect is at the great Dao realm. Such a powerful existence led more than 20 people to kill a single person, and with the addition of a supreme elder of the Golden Fire Dao School, this group of people were all killed in the end? Did they go to eliminate the existence of the Enlightenment realm? This doesn't seem possible, right? It's not like they are crazy. No, they want to kill a cultivator at the 7th layer of the Zephyr realm. His name is Lin Tian, about 19 years old. What? Zephyr realm cultivator? And he is only about 19 years old. A Zephyr realm cultivator killed 2 great Dao realm powerhouses in a battle? He killed more than 20 immortal realm powerhouses? Are you kidding me? This is too ridiculous. Who is joking with you? I saw it with my own eyes. Although that Lin Tian is only in the Zephyr realm, he has mastered the complete dragon burial scripture. He engraved dense dragon patterns and killing arrays on the god burial mountain, mobilizing the power of the entire god burial mountain range to fight with the 8th supreme elder of the phaseless immortal sect and the others. In the end, he killed the 2 great Dao realm powerhouses. Someone said, what? He mastered the complete dragon burial scripture? How is this possible? That's the inheritance of one of the 9 celestial sovereigns, Celestial Sovereign Zonglong. This, many people trembled. Wait! Someone raised a question and said, even if he controls the complete dragon burial scripture, it doesn't seem to be possible for him to kill a great Dao realm cultivator, right? Wasn't it said that only those who had grasped the Dao laws could kill great Dao realm experts? That Lin Tian seemed to be a flying cultivator, right? How is it possible for a flight immortal cultivator to control such a thing as Dao law? Generally speaking, that is indeed the case. However, that Lin Tian has cultivated a sea of consciousness anomaly. With the strange power of the strange phenomenon in the sea of consciousness, the divine souls of the 8th supreme elder of the phaseless immortal sect and the supreme elder of the Golden Fire Dao School were destroyed. He even cultivated the sea of consciousness phenomenon. This, a monster. Let's not talk about the dragon burial scripture. In other aspects, this Lin Tian is comparable to the 6 great celestial sects' holy sons, right? Even if they were compared to the princes and princesses of the 3 empires, they wouldn't be inferior. In the third heaven, the cultivation world was shocked. At the age of 19, he was at the 7th level of the Zephyr realm, cultivated the sea of consciousness phenomenon, mastered the complete dragon burial scripture, and killed 2 great Dao realm experts and more than 20 immortal ascension realm experts on God Burial Mountain. This was simply too terrifying. Moreover, at the same time, there was news that Lin Tian also mastered array controlling techniques. It was very likely that he was a 6-stage array controlling master or above. This caused the cultivators in this heaven to tremble. A 19-year-old could actually be a 6-stage array controlling master. Monster. A heaven-defying monster. In the end, someone concluded like this. Phaseless immortal sect, beast. A furious roar came from the phaseless immortal palace. 7 figures stood inside, all of them with angry expressions. These were the supreme elders of the phaseless immortal sect and all of them were at the great Tao realm. After hearing the news from the outside world and seeing the purple-robed old man's soul lamp extinguish, the 7 of them knew that the purple-robed old man was indeed dead. As for the 20 or so people that the purple-robed elder had brought with him, none of them had survived. This caused the 7 of them to be extremely furious. A great Tao expert and more than 20 immortal ascension experts had actually died at the hands of a little cultivator. Not only was this a huge loss to the sect's strength, it was also a complete loss of face for the formless immortal sect. The complete dragon burial scripture. That bastard actually grasped the complete dragon burial scripture. Damn it. Kill. We must kill him. Several people roared. The eyes of the 7 experts were filled with anger and killing intent. If it weren't for the fact that this palace was made of special materials and had a special meaning, the aura of the 7 experts would have already destroyed the palace. Even so, the roars and killing intent of these 7 people still spread throughout the entire formless immortal sect, causing many people to feel a chill in their hearts. Golden Flame's Tao Gate, ah! The same roar resounded in all directions. The Golden Flame's sect master was so angry that he was trembling. Not long ago, their lineage had already lost dozens of ordinary elders and 12 hidden elders when they went to the Ascension Tao Gate. And now, the strongest person in their lineage, the great Tao Realm Supreme Elder, had also been killed. Damn it! Damn it! The Golden Flame's sect master roared. This was a middle-aged man. His eyes were filled with anger and hatred. He wanted nothing more than to grab Lin Tian and eat him alive. At the same time, there was a hint of fear and panic in the middle-aged man's eyes. Right now, the 12 secluded elders and dozens of ordinary elders of the Golden Fire Tao School had been killed. Even the Grand Elder of the Great Tao Realm had been killed. The Golden Fire Tao School had lost almost all of its strength. At this time, if some other great forces came, the Golden Flame's Tao Gate would definitely face a terrifying disaster. Without a great Tao expert guarding the sect, without the 12 hidden elders and dozens of ordinary immortal ascension elders, how much confidence did the Golden Flame's Tao Gate have to resist external enemies? Dragon-seeking family, Jiang family. The complete dragon burial scripture? After the patriarch of this lineage received the news from the outside world, he immediately stood up. His eyes were filled with a bright light. At the same time, there were other experts of the Jiang family beside him. Their eyes were burning as if there was a fire burning in them. Send out the experts at all costs. We must obtain the complete dragon burial scripture. The patriarch of this lineage roared. Ascension Tao Gate. On this day, the Ascension Tao Gate was completely shocked. Then, an excited roar erupted. Lin Tianyi's men had killed a great Tao expert of the formless immortal sect, more than 20 immortal ascension realm experts, and the supreme elder of the Golden Flames Tao Gate. As expected of senior brother Lin, as expected of the sect master. Too powerful. Too powerful. How dare that King formless immortal sect bully us? Sooner or later, the sect master will destroy them all. And the Golden Flames Tao Gate should be destroyed too. Many people roared. Some time ago, Lin Tian was forced out of the Ascension Tao Gate by the formless immortal sect, causing the disciples of the Ascension Tao Gate to be dejected and depressed. At this moment, when they heard such news, all of them were immediately energized and became excited. This kid, Ling Yun, was cultivating. When he heard the news, his expression was filled with shock and disbelief. Inside the Ascension Divine Tower, Shui Ye's body was surrounded by light and mist. His eyes were like water. After hearing the news, Shui Yi was not excited. Instead, he was filled with worry. From time to time, he would look at the sky outside the Ascension Divine Tower. Cultivate well. Don't worry about him. He will be fine. He will only become stronger. Lu Wei said, Yes, master. Shui Yi nodded. As he spoke, Shui Yi closed his eyes and began to cultivate seriously. Lu Wei looked at Shui Yi and nodded. His eyes were shining. As expected of the king body, After Lin Tian left, he personally taught Shui Yi cultivation and passed down the complete Ascension Divine technique. Then, in just over a month, Shui Yi had already cultivated the Ascension Divine technique to an extremely profound realm. His comprehension ability was so high that even a great Dao realm powerhouse like him was shocked. However, after being slightly surprised, he sighed again. This girl's comprehension ability is very high, but to be able to reach such a height in such a short period of time, it was not entirely because of her comprehension ability. It was more because of her hard work. Ever since Lin Tian left, this girl had spent almost all her time cultivating. He knew very well that this disciple of his was worried about Lin Tian every day. She wanted to become stronger and help Lin Tian. He looked at the sky, and divine light intertwined in his eyes. "You must live," he said in his heart. The entire third heaven was shaken. All the major factions and corners were talking about one person, Lin Tian. In just a day, the name Lin Tian was known by the entire third heaven. Heaven-defying. Monster. Monster. When the crowd discussed Lin Tian, these two words appeared the most frequently. Lin Tian naturally heard these voices, but he didn't care. He left the God Burial Mountain, crossed an old forest, and arrived in front of a magnificent city 3 days later. Tomb Prison City, he whispered. With that said, he walked in. Tomb Prison City, the most famous ancient city in the Shang continent. During the year, the city was surrounded by evergreen trees, birds chirped, and flowers bloomed. It was like spring all year round. Looking from a distance, Tomb Prison City was extremely majestic. The city walls were thick and built with special old stones. It was like an azure dragon lying on the ground, giving people a shocking feeling that made them feel suffocated. Lin Tian walked from a distance. He was very calm as he stepped into Tomb Prison City. Walking into this ancient city, the inside of the city was even more prosperous. There were many majestic halls, spirit crystal workshop, treasure weapon pavilion, fairy tower, and everything else. For a moment, Lin Tian was a little dazzled. There were just too many different kinds of pavilions. Why does he look so similar to the Lin Tian from the rumors a few days ago? This seems to be, the Tomb Prison City was full of people, all of them were cultivators. At this moment, after seeing Lin Tian, they all widened their eyes. A few days ago, Lin Tian killed the 8th Supreme Elder of the Phaseless Immortal Sect and others at the God Burial Mountain, shocking the entire third heaven. As people spread the rumors, Lin Tian's appearance was gradually described by people who witnessed the battle. At this moment, he walked in the ancient city, causing a lot of exclamations. Many people saw him coming and couldn't help but dodge to the side. Lin Tian didn't care. He walked and stopped, and eventually came to a simple but extraordinary pavilion. Tianji Pavilion. He glanced at it and walked in. Tianji Pavilion, also known as the Divine Divination Pavilion, is a very famous place in the third heaven. It knows many things that ordinary people don't know. Generally speaking, when cultivators want to know something but can't find it out by themselves, they will come to Tianji Pavilion. Even some of the big figures of the 3 great dynasties who look down on this heaven have come here to ask for advice. In Tianji Pavilion, as long as you can afford it, even if you want to know when and where the princess of a certain dynasty took a bath, there is no problem. Of course, generally speaking, ordinary people won't be bored enough to ask such questions. Chapter 599. Lin Tian walked into the Tianji Pavilion. The decoration inside was very simple. There were a few pots of white orchids near the window, and there were some simple green plants on both sides. The air was very fresh. There were ordinary tables and chairs inside, and many people were sitting in them. Some people were discussing something in low voices. Not far away, there was a vertical line that led to a house covered by a bamboo curtain. Lin Tian glanced around and found that the people in the vertical line were all people who came here to ask questions. As for the rest of the people who were sitting, they seemed to have finished asking questions and were thinking about something. When he swept his gaze over these people, some people also noticed him. In an instant, many of them were shocked and recognized him. That? Lin Tian? Someone couldn't help but exclaim. Suddenly, Some people turned their heads and stared at Lin Tian. Then, many people trembled violently. A few days ago, Lin Tian killed 2 great Dao realm powerhouses and more than 20 immortal realm powerhouses in the God Burial Mountain range. It was rumored that he mastered the complete dragon burial scripture and comprehended a powerful phenomenon in his sea of consciousness. Moreover, he might be an array controller above the 6th order, causing the entire 3rd heaven to be in an uproar. At this moment, when these people saw Lin Tian in this place, how could they not be shocked? These people stared at Lin Tian, their eyes flashing. "Excuse me, do you have something to ask?" A young girl walked over. The young girl was wearing a long green dress. Her face was beautiful, and there was a very quiet smile on her face. "Unspecified currency," Lin Tian nodded slightly. The young girl pointed to the people in the vertical line and said, "Please line up here." Lin Tian walked to the position pointed by the young girl and stood silently behind the crowd. He looked ahead. There were about 30 people waiting in front of him. The house covered by the bamboo curtain should be the master of the Tianji Pavilion, the divine mathematician, who is said to know thousands of things in the world. He roughly estimated that he would have to wait for at least 3 hours before it was his turn. Shaking his head, he calmed his breathing and looked ahead indifferently. In front of them, many people in the line secretly swallowed their saliva, especially the person closest to Lin Tian. His legs were slightly trembling. A few days ago, Lin Tian had killed 2 great Dao elites and more than 20 immortal channeling elites. To these ordinary cultivators, he was practically a ferocious demon. Now that they were queuing at the same time as Lin Tian, how could they not feel great pressure? "Well, monsieur, I have a sudden problem. Please tell Mr. Clairvoyant that I will come back tomorrow to ask for his advice." "Monsieur, I also have something to do. I'll come back tomorrow." "Wait a minute. I seem to be refining a large saber. Why am I here?" He was really forgetful, really forgetful. "Well, monsieur, I have to leave for a while. I'll come back tomorrow to consult with you." "I'll come back tomorrow?" Among the 30 or so people in front of him, someone spoke one after another. Soon, the 30 or so people all found reasons to leave. As for the cultivators who were originally sitting in the room thinking about the problem, they had already left. For a moment, only Lin Tian and the young girl were left in the room. The young girl stared at Lin Tian, looking up and down, left and right, back and forth. Lin Tian was speechless. "Excuse me, can I go in and consult with you?" he asked. "You're the only one left. What do you think?" The young girl said. "Oh," Lin Tian said apologetically, then walked toward the room covered by the bamboo curtain. He was not stupid. He knew that these people suddenly left because of him. He opened the bamboo curtain, and there was a small room inside. There was a sandalwood table in the room, and a middle-aged man was sitting opposite it. The middle-aged man was not old, but his face was slightly pale, and his qi and blood seemed to be a little weak. "Clairvoyant?" Lin Tian frowned. The middle-aged man sat opposite the sandalwood table and looked at Lin Tian. His voice was very soft. "Please sit down. What's the problem?" Lin Tian frowned. The middle-aged man did not answer his question. In other words, he was the clairvoyant. This was a little different from what he had imagined. He originally thought that the clairvoyant would be a white-haired old man with the demeanor of an immortal. He did not expect that he was a middle-aged man, and he looked a little ordinary, even a little weak. However, he did not think too much about it. He sat down and looked at the clairvoyant. "I want to ask about the whereabouts of 2 people. Names. It's better to be more specific," the clairvoyant said. Lin Tian nodded. "Bai Chiu, Bai Ziki." After that, he briefly mentioned the siblings. Of course, he only mentioned their appearance and other external characteristics. The clairvoyant did not speak. After 10 breaths, he said, 100 pieces of Ling Jing, the size of a human head." Lin Tian's eyes narrowed, and his brows furrowed again. On his shoulder, the shrunken black flood dragon roared at the clairvoyant. 100 spirit crystals the size of a human head was not easy to gather. Even if a dozen ordinary sects combined their resources, they might not be able to gather 100 spirit crystals the size of a human head. "Your Excellency, you're asking for too much," Lin Tiantan said lightly. The two people you mentioned are extraordinary. You should know that yourself. To calculate their whereabouts, you will need to consume a lot of chi and blood, and even pay some other price. The clairvoyant looked very calm. His face was slightly pale, and there was no fluctuation in his emotions. It's up to you whether you want to or not. If you don't want to, please leave. The clairvoyant raised his right hand slightly and made a please gesture toward the bamboo curtain. Lin Tian was moved. He didn't care about the last sentence of the clairvoyant, but the first sentence. Before coming here, he had asked some other cultivators about the whereabouts of the brother and sister, but none of them knew anything about them. Obviously, the brother and sister have been very low-key since they came to the third heaven. They haven't caused any big disturbances. Therefore, he came to the divination pavilion, hoping that the divination master of the divination pavilion could deduce some information about them. Originally, he had some doubts about the so-called divination of the heavens. After all, it was a bit ridiculous to rely on divination to know everything in the world. When Master God Diviner had asked for 100 spirit crystals the size of a human head, he had been a bit unhappy and felt that he was being greedy. However, when Master God Diviner calmly and almost indifferently said that the siblings were extraordinary, he was finally moved. Just based on two names and some simple facial features, the middle-aged man could tell that the siblings were extraordinary. How could he not be surprised? One has to know that his divine sense was very powerful, and he had comprehended the knowledge-sea phenomenon. He could clearly see that the clairvoyant wasn't pretending, but had really calculated something. He frowned slightly and said, "Forgive me for asking, but you need to spend a lot of blood and vitality to calculate their whereabouts." "What do you mean?" The clairvoyant raised his head, his face slightly pale as he looked at Lin Tian faintly. "If it's inconvenient, even if you think it's very mysterious to calculate something you don't know, and it is indeed very mysterious." The clairvoyant interrupted Lin Tian's words and said calmly, "However, there are 3,000 great Daos in the world, and there is also a karmic cycle. Just by sitting at a table, one can know something they don't know. There is always a price to pay. The simpler the matter and the person involved in the divination, the lower the cost. Conversely, the cost will be heavier." The clairvoyant spoke very calmly, causing Lin Tian's expression to become serious. He finally understood why the clairvoyant's blood and vitality were so weak. So, that was what had happened. It seemed that the clairvoyant had calculated many things and people over the years. Day by day, the clairvoyant had consumed a lot of blood and vitality. After a pause, he suddenly became curious and asked, "What would happen if you were to calculate the whereabouts of the 9 celestials?" A faint light flashed in the clairvoyant's eyes, but then they became calm again. "I don't have that ability." "What if you do? What would happen after the calculation?" Lin Tian was indeed curious. The clairvoyant looked at Lin Tian with an indifferent expression. "You would die, and even bring disaster to future generations." Lin Tian's expression changed. It was so serious. Not only would he die, but he would also bring disaster to future generations? People who have reached such heights are branded with their imprints in the 3,000 great Daos. Forcibly calculating something related to such people will only cause the great Daos to be dissatisfied and bring disaster to the world, even if it's just calculating something related to them. The clairvoyant said. Lin Tian was shocked. He thought to himself that the 9 celestials were really terrifying. At such a high level, just calculating something related to them would bring disaster to the world. How terrifying was that? He thought about it. People at such a high level were really invincible. In this life, the only thing that could trouble them was time. He took a deep breath, nodded to the clairvoyant, and said, "Thank you for your explanation." At this time, he looked at the clairvoyant again and suddenly felt that this person was somewhat unfathomable. The clairvoyant didn't say anything and just shook his head. Lin Tiandao said, "I'm willing to pay 100 pieces of lingjing the size of a human head, but I don't have that much on me now. Please give me some time. 1 month, at most 1 month, I'll come back with 100 pieces of lingjing the size of a human head." He didn't even have a single piece of lingjing the size of a human head on him now. However, he had the dragon burial scripture, With the dragon burial scripture, he believed that he could quickly find 100 pieces of Ling Jing the size of a human head on this continent full of spiritual energy. The clairvoyant nodded slightly, paused, and said, "There are immortal demon ancient veins in Shengzhou. There are many pieces of Ling Jing in the depths of the ancient veins, and there are even spirit mines. You can go there to look for them. However, that place is very dangerous. There's only a slim chance of survival there." Lin Tian's eyes flashed with a strange light. Immortal demon ancient veins? There are many pieces of Ling Jing in the depths. There's only a slim chance of survival there? He paused for a moment and stood up. "Thank you. I'll definitely come back to visit in a month." He nodded to the clairvoyant again and slowly left the small room, carefully closing the bamboo curtain. The young girl, Yer, was standing in the room. Lin Tian nodded to her and slowly walked out of the divination pavilion. Immortal demon ancient veins? A sharp light flashed in his eyes as he walked out of Tomb Palace City. After a dozen breaths, he was very far away from the divination pavilion. Chapter 600. Dozens of people approached in the blink of an eye. The cultivators on the street were all shocked and dodged to the sides. Lin Tian stopped and looked up. There were about 30 people here. 2 of them were at the first level of the connecting immortal realm, while the rest were at the 5th to 9th level of the Zephyr realm. They could be considered a very powerful force. Phaseless immortal sect, he said indifferently. From the auras of these people, he could feel that all 30 of them belonged to the phaseless immortal sect. On the street, some of the other cultivators naturally recognized who the dozens of people were. Looking at these people and then at Lin Tian, they all held their breaths. These people were already very clear about the hatred between the two. After leaving the god burial mountain, you actually dare to swagger here. Among the 30 people, an old man in a long robe said coldly. This person was at the first level of Immortal Ascension, one of the 2 Immortal Ascension experts. He stood side by side with the other Immortal Ascension expert and looked at Lin Tian coldly. Lin Tian looked at the other party with an indifferent expression and did not say anything. This expression undoubtedly made the old man's face even colder. You control the dragon burial scripture. In the god burial mountain, you are very strong. However, this place is not the god burial mountain. Here, you are just an ant at the 7th level of Immortal Ascension. The man said coldly. Beside him, the other Immortal Ascension expert also had a cold expression and was dressed in yellow. In the battle a few days ago, Lin Tian stood on the god burial mountain and killed 2 great Dao experts and more than 20 Immortal Ascension experts. It was discovered that he controlled the complete dragon burial scripture, which made people's hearts palpitate. Relying on the dragon burial scripture, Lin Tian was truly invincible in some special forces of heaven and earth. Killing Immortal Ascension experts was as easy as tearing apart a painting. However, the 2 of them were not worried at this time, because this was Mui City. In this place, the dragon burial scripture could not display too much power. Even if there were other powerful ancient offensive techniques in the ancient scripture, Lin Tian was only at the 7th level of Immortal Ascension after all, while they were at the Immortal Ascension realm. That's true. This is not the god burial mountain. Then Lin Tian. Under normal circumstances, it's too difficult for an airborne realm to fight against a transcendence realm cultivator. Even if he had comprehended the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, to deal with 2 immortal reaching level experts and dozens of airborne realm experts, that seems to be, many people whispered. The long-robed old man and the yellow-robed old man stood together, their faces cold. Behind the 2 of them, the group of cultivators in the air also looked at Lin Tian coldly, as if they were looking at a corpse. Looking at these people, Lin Tian's expression was very calm. His gaze fell on the robed old man. 7th tier of the Imperial Air Race is an ant. Those below the Immortal Connecting Realm are all ants. That person sneered. Is that so? Lin Tian Dao, there are quite a lot of ants that followed you here. Your phaseless immortal sect really has a lot of ants. Does your sect raise ants? Hearing Lin Tian's words, many people around wanted to laugh and applaud. Previously, When the long-robed old man said that those below the immortal connecting realm are all ants, many people were unhappy. After all, 99% of the people here were below the immortal connecting realm. The long-robed old man's words were equivalent to directly belittling 99% of the people here. How could these people be happy? At this moment, Lin Tianyi said, "There are quite a lot of ants that followed you here. Your phaseless immortal sect really has a lot of ants. Does your sect raise ants?" It sounded very calm, but the sarcasm in it was extremely strong. Taking a look, the cultivators of the phaseless immortal sect behind the long-robed old man and the yellow-robed old man were all below the immortal connecting realm, and 99% of the disciples of the phaseless immortal sect were also below the immortal connecting realm. Was the phaseless immortal sect a place to raise ants? The long-robed old man's face turned ashen. Then his eyes turned cold. What a sharp-tongued thing. Why waste time talking to him? Just take him down, bring him back to the sect, and hand him over to the supreme elders. The yellow-robed old man said, "I'll suppress him. This beast actually killed a great Tao realm expert of my phaseless immortal sect. He should be killed 10,000 times over." The long-robed old man said coldly and took a step towards Lin Tian. On Lin Tian's shoulder, the shrunken black flood dragon roared. A dark light flashed in its demonic eyes, and strands of baleful aura interweaved. "Just a kitten. There's no need for you to do anything." Lin Tian Dao. Facing the long-robed old man who was striding over, he dodged the old man's ferocious palm and slapped down. The long-robed old man sneered. "You dodged quite quickly. Unfortunately, that's all you can do." As he spoke, the old man waved his palm again and faced Lin Tian. The two palms collided very quickly. Blood splattered, and the long-robed old man's large hand was directly shattered. Instantly, the expression of the long-robed old man changed. He was shocked and terrified as he quickly retreated. Unfortunately, it was too late. Lin Tian's palm pressed down. Under the long-robed old man's terrified gaze, it directly landed on his chest. With a puff, blood splattered again. The long-robed old man was torn into pieces and died on the spot. On both sides, the crowd was shocked. He killed an immortal ascension expert with a single palm. This is physical body, barbarian king body. Someone swallowed their saliva. A casual palm actually killed an immortal ascension expert. Such a physique was simply too terrifying. Not only these people, but even the yellow-robed old man and the other people of the phaseless immortal sect changed their expressions. Lin Tian raised his head and looked at these people. Phaseless immortal sect, I still remember what I said in the God Burial Mountain. You are a despicable and shameless sect. It won't be long before you disappear from the third heaven. As he spoke, he walked forward step by step, and a 3-foot-long sword appeared in his hand. "But now, I'll make you disappear first. You, clang." The sword hum was ear-piercing. With a slash, a blood mist appeared. In the blink of an eye, the 7th-layer Zephyr Realm cultivator who spoke was chopped into pieces and fell to the ground. He walked over without using any divine abilities or martial skills. He simply waved his sword. However, even so, no one could stop him. Puff, puff, puff. Blood mist splashed out, and corpses fell under his feet. "Beast, stop!" The yellow-robed old man roared and used a great divine ability to attack Lin Tiansha. Lin Tianyi flashed past, avoiding the divine ability. He raised the long sword in his hand, and the tip of the sword appeared in the yellow-robed old man's vision. Puff! The blade broke through and pierced the man's glabella, shattering his head on the spot. His body and soul were destroyed. The surrounding crowd trembled. First, he smashed a long-robed old man with a palm, and now he killed the yellow-robed old man with a sword. Such combat strength made many people feel a chill down their spines. Some people couldn't help but tremble. "Ah, fellow Taoists, save me. My phaseless immortal sect will definitely." "Ah! No, don't kill," screams rang out one after another. Lin Tian's expression was calm as he mercilessly killed the disciples of the phaseless immortal sect one by one. In the end, there was only one person left. Is there a property of the phaseless immortal sect in the tomb necropolis cities? He asked. Normally, large sects and powers would set up some businesses outside, such as buying and selling treasured weapons and medicinal pills, as well as collecting all kinds of information. Not long after he entered the tomb necropolis city, dozens of people from the phaseless immortal sect came to kill him, and there were even 2 immortal ascension realm experts. He could guess that the tomb necropolis city should have a business base set up by the phaseless immortal sect. That the city is south. The man said in fear, No. Don't kill me. Lin Tian nodded, and with a backhand slash, cut off the man's head. The surrounding crowd trembled as they felt a chill run down their spines. How long had it been? In less than half a quarter of an hour, the 2 immortal ascension realm experts and more than 30 flying experts from the phaseless immortal sect were all killed. Not a single one survived. At this moment, staring at Lin Tian, many people felt as if their hearts were about to jump out of their chests. Lin Tian glanced around, but did not stop. He walked forward in a certain direction. Not long after, he arrived at the east side of the city and appeared in front of a very luxurious pavilion. There was a signboard on top of this pavilion with 4 large words engraved on it. Phaseless Treasure Pavilion. His expression was calm as he walked in. The interior of the Phaseless Treasure Pavilion was very spacious. There were many people, all cultivators, who came to this place to trade for some treasured weapons. Those who have nothing to do with the phaseless immortal sect, please leave, he said. In the crowd, a portion of the people turned their heads to look at Lin Tian, all of them somewhat displeased. However, very quickly someone thought of something. Thinking of the youth's appearance that was described in the rumors a few days ago, his expression immediately changed. Lin Tian? Who is making such a ruckus in my phaseless treasure pavilion? Someone pushed through the crowd and walked towards Lin Tian. Lin Tian raised his head and casually slashed out with his sword. There was no need to think too much. This person's words had already explained everything. He was from the phaseless immortal sect. Blood mist exploded, and this person was beheaded on the spot. For a moment, the other cultivators in the treasure pavilion turned pale with fright. Those who have nothing to do with the phaseless immortal sect, please leave. Lin Tian Ondao. At this time, there was no need for him to remind them. Everyone had already run outside. In the blink of an eye, all the people who had nothing to do with the phaseless immortal sect in the treasure pavilion had run away. At the same time, the cultivators of the phaseless immortal sect who had stayed behind in the phaseless treasure pavilion all rushed out and stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. After hearing that Lin Tian had come to Muwu City, the 2 big shots who had stayed behind in the treasure pavilion had already led a group of experts to kill Lin Tian. Why did Lin Tian come to this place instead? Lin Tian glanced at these people. There are still 53 people left here. 1 at the early stage of the immortal ascension stage, 30 in the air, and 22 in the sea of consciousness. With an indifferent smile, he raised the long sword in his hand and casually slashed forward, as expected of one of the 6 major immortal sects. Your confidence is not small. It's just a small stronghold, but you can send out so many people to guard it. Clang! The sword hum was ear-piercing as it flew forward. Blood splattered out, and it was very dazzling. Walking in the treasure pavilion, Lin Tian seemed very calm and composed. He killed 1 person with each step. Screams and wails rang out. After half a quarter of an hour, all 53 people were beheaded. With a casual glance, he walked out of the phaseless treasure pavilion and swung his sword behind him. In an instant, dozens of sword chi shot out and landed behind him. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire phaseless treasure pavilion collapsed, causing sand and dust to splatter everywhere. Lin Tian did not stop. Step by step, he walked further and further away, quickly disappearing in front of him. The surrounding crowd arrived in front of the collapsed treasure pavilion. Looking through the remains of the collapsed pavilion, they saw corpses and a blood-red field of vision. Immediately, they couldn't help but tremble, and some of them couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Woo! The people from the phaseless immortal sect who stayed in the phaseless treasure pavilion were all killed. Some people trembled. In the blink of an eye, the news had spread throughout the entire Tomb Palace city, causing all the cultivators in the ancient city to reveal shocked expressions. The people from the phaseless immortal sect are probably so angry that they're vomiting blood, right? Vomit blood? It's even possible for him to go crazy from anger. After the fall of the god Burial Mountain, this is another ruthless slap to the face. Speaking of which, they deserve it. That's true. According to the rumors, this sect has gone too far. They're simply ungrateful. Chill. Keep your voice down. Don't let the phaseless immortal sect hear about it. Many people were discussing. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. After Lin Tian left the Tomb Palace city, he flew all the way until he arrived at the edge of a barren, dark land. As far as the eye could see, the land was vast and boundless. There was only sand and some dark black rocks standing on the ground. Arriving at this place, the air suddenly became somewhat cold. Immortal devil, ancient vein, Lin Tian whispered. Chapter 601. The barren land stretched as far as the eye could see, and sand was everywhere. There were even many cracks on the ground, and it was very dry. To put it simply, this so-called immortal demon ancient vein was very desolate, even worse than a desert. Lin Tian glanced at the front, then stepped into it, walking towards the depths of the land to find Lingjing. Before coming here, he had done some research. This immortal demon ancient vein was very dangerous. Together with God Burial Mountain and True Desolate Dao Cave, it was one of the 3 most ominous places in the Shun continent. Even if an immortal realm expert entered it, he could die if he was not careful. However, although it was called an ominous place, there were many opportunities in this immortal demon ancient vein. Countless Lingjing were nurtured in the depths, and there were also mineral veins formed by Lingjing. It was even rumored that there were divine medicines that could prolong one's life. Therefore, from time to time, there were people who entered this immortal demon ancient vein, hoping to find some great benefits. Lin Tian casually walked into the depths, and his footsteps collided with the sand and gravel on the ground, making a sizzling sound. Walking on this land, the ground was very dry, but the air was very cold. His steps were very gentle, and soon, he had completely entered the immortal demon ancient vein and walked very far. When he really walked in, he found that this ancient vein could be called a vast wasteland. The land was barren, and almost everything was dark black. The cracks on the ground intertwined, like a huge spiderweb. As he continued forward, he saw many square stones embedded in the ground. They looked like tombstones. After walking further, he saw many stone pillars of strange shapes. They were intertwined with strands of gloomy aura, as if they had been soaked in blood. Some of the stone pillars looked like dragons soaring into the sky. After a pause, he could not help but think of the black dragon on his shoulder. Rumor has it that you dragons have a trace of the bloodline power of the primitive true dragon. Is it true? He asked. I'm not sure, but there is a special power in the blood that is difficult to awaken. The Black Flood Dragon had almost stepped into the level of the Great Tao. In addition, it was a rare living creature in the world, so it could naturally speak the human language. Lin Tian's eyes flashed as he nodded slightly. If the Black Flood Dragon said so, the rumors were indeed true. That should be a trace of the true dragon's bloodline. He said. The Black Flood Dragon didn't say anything else. It just lay quietly on Lin Tian's shoulder, its pair of demonic eyes looking around from time to time. Lin Tian had asked it why it didn't transform, and the Black Jiao's answer was simple. It kept cultivating in its original beast form. Although the speed of cultivation was slower, its demonic power was purer than that of a transformed demon of the same level. Its physique was also stronger than that of a transformed demon of the same level. Even if Lin Tian returned to his original beast form, he still wouldn't be a match for it. Along the way, a small tornado suddenly spun up, bringing with it a lot of black sand and dust, like a black wind. Following that, the air became even colder. In front of them, a black wind swept across. The tornado became a little bigger and swept towards them. It seemed very natural, but Lin Tion's eyes narrowed slightly, and a faint light flashed in his eyes. On his shoulder, the shrunken black flood dragon growled, its pair of demonic eyes staring straight at the black wind, obviously feeling something. Lin Tian was very direct. A long sword appeared in his hand, and he directly slashed forward, sinking into the black wind. With a swoosh, a fierce roar came from inside, and the black tornado collapsed on the spot. Lin Tian took a step forward and found a strand of black beast hair on the ground, as well as some black blood stains. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked around, but he didn't find anything. He stood in place for a moment. The wind and sand were still around, and nothing else appeared. Only then did he walk forward again. Whoosh! As he continued to walk forward, the wind in the air became a little stronger, and it kept whistling in his ears. Lin Tian strode forward, only to feel that his vision was greatly affected, and his divine sense couldn't see very far. It was also at this time that he felt a chill on the back of his neck, as if a malicious spirit was blowing cold air on his neck. Without thinking too much, he swung his sword behind him. With a swoosh, the blade seemed to have cut something, but the feeling was very light. He looked down and saw that there was an additional black hair on the ground, exactly the same as the beast hair from before. Clearly, a strange creature had approached to attack him. Looking around, only the yellow sand and the sound of the wind were still echoing. There was no creature in sight. The space between his brows flickered, and his divine sense spread out. After a while, it returned to normal, but he still didn't find anything. As expected of one of the 3 ominous territories, he muttered to himself. With that, he stepped on the dry and cracked ground and continued to walk into the depths of this land. He wanted to find traces of Bai Chio and Bai Ziki, so he had to ask the clairvoyant for help. The clairvoyant wanted 100 pieces of Ling Jing, the size of a human head, as a reward, so he had no choice but to enter this immortal devil ancient vein. Soon, he walked very far away again. During this process, he was attacked several times by strange creatures, but he couldn't catch them each time. Even the half-step great Dao realm black dragon couldn't do anything. Even though his divine sense was very strong, he couldn't sense the other party's existence. Just like that, he walked on this barren land for 2 days and traveled hundreds of miles. On this day, there was an additional withered forest in front of him. He stepped into it, and after walking for a while, he saw more than 10 figures. What should we do? What should we do? What should we do? How should I know? If I had known, I wouldn't have come to this lousy place. This Ling Jing can't find the treasure, and my life will be lost here. Most of the people in the crowd had ugly expressions. Some people who were in a better mood saw Lin Tian walk in, turned their heads to look, and then turned their heads to look forward again. These people seemed to have encountered trouble and gathered in this place. Lin Tianwei glanced at them and didn't say anything. He didn't stop and directly walked forward. "Brothers, stop. There's danger ahead," a voice sounded. Not far away, a purple-clothed youth and a green-clothed girl walked over. The purple-clothed youth looked about 21 years old, while the green-clothed girl was about 16 years old. They seemed to be brother and sister. Lin Tian stopped and looked at the youth and the girl. The purple-clothed youth walked over and pointed ahead. "There's a fog ahead that contains killing intent. Many people have already died inside." Beside the youth, the girl nodded like a chick pecking at rice. She muttered, "They died so tragically. Their corpses are gone. We're also miserable. We've been trapped here for 2 months. We can't move forward, and we can't leave." Lin Tianwei was puzzled. Can't move forward? Can't leave? He could understand that they couldn't move forward. It looked like the fog ahead was indeed a little strange. He could feel a faint sense of eeriness. However, he was slightly puzzled that they couldn't leave. He looked at the path they came from. It was very flat, without wind, sand, or fog. So, how could they not be able to leave? As if knowing what he was thinking, the purple-clothed youth said, Looking at it with the naked eye, the path we came from is very clear. There's not much of it, but no matter how we walk, we can't get out. It's full of twists and turns, and in the end, we'll circle back here. Is there such a thing? Lin Tian's expression changed. After a pause, he walked back along the path he came from. He wanted to do a small experiment. After that, a strange look flashed in his eyes. Because, as the purple-clothed youth said, he could see everything outside the withered forest at a glance. Normally, it wouldn't take long for him to leave the withered forest, but in fact, he walked for a full quarter of an hour and still couldn't get out. It was as if there was a strange force that interfered with space and time. Am I right? The purple-clothed youth said. Lin Tian nodded and frowned slightly. This immortal demon ancient vein was really strange. He glanced at the fog in front of him, then looked back at the purple-clothed youth and said seriously, "Brother, thank you for your reminder." He tried to get out, but he couldn't. He could imagine that the fog in front of him was definitely dangerous. The purple-clothed youth kindly reminded him, so he naturally had to thank him, even though he might not necessarily encounter danger if he walked ahead. "You're too polite. It's only right that we help each other when we're outside." The purple-clothed youth shook his head with a gentle smile on his face. He looked at Lin Tiandao and said, "My name is Xia Qingfeng. How should I address you?" There were more than 10 people in this withered forest. Only he and the young girl were young, while the rest were middle-aged people or even old people. After being trapped with these people for 2 months, suddenly meeting someone of the same age as them made them feel a sense of familiarity. "My name is Lin Tian," Lin Tian said with a smile. The purple-clothed youth gave him a good feeling. He was very gentle and gave people a feeling that he was very easy to get along with. "Brother Lin, nice to meet you." Xia Qingfeng smiled and pointed at the girl beside him. "This is my younger sister, Xia Xiaoyu." Xia Xiaoyu looked at Lin Tian and mimicked Xia Qingfeng. "Brother Lin, nice to meet you." Lin Tian. Xia Qingfeng knocked Xia Xiaoyu, then looked at Lin Tian with an apologetic smile. "My younger sister has always been naughty. Brother Lin, please don't blame her." "Not at all. I think she's very nice." Lin Tian smiled. He was not deliberately saying nice things, but he really did feel that way. This girl was not pretentious at all and was very easy to get along with. The three of them were about the same age and were of the same generation, so they quickly became familiar with each other. "Brother Lin, why have you come to the immortal demon ancient range?" Xia Qingfeng asked with a smile. Lin Tian did not hide and said simply, "I have something to ask the divine mathematician of the divination pavilion, so I'm here to find some Ling Jing as a reward." "The divination pavilion? The divine mathematician?" Xia Qingfeng shivered. "That divine mathematician is very powerful and unfathomable. Brother Xia, you know?" Chapter 602. Lin Tian was not a narrow-minded person. Although these people had doubted him before, they were now sincerely apologizing to him. Naturally, he would not put on airs. "It's okay," he said. The people who came forward to apologize wiped their sweat and repeatedly thanked him. Walking out of the withered forest, he looked ahead. The ground was still pitch black, stretching on endlessly. He could only see a fiery cloud floating in the distance. From afar, it looked like a river of blood, giving people a horrifying feeling. The group did not stay for long. After pausing for a moment, they walked toward the depths. There were many dangers in the immortal demon ancient range, but it was said that the good things were in the depths. If they wanted to find treasures in this ominous realm, they could only enter the depths of the ancient range. Whoosh! The wind kept blowing, bringing up strands of sand. "It's so cold," Xia Xiaoyu muttered. Walking out of the withered forest and into the depths, the temperature of the air was obviously lower, as if it had dropped by dozens of degrees. Lin Tian naturally sensed it as well, but he didn't pay much attention to it. With his current cultivation and the strength of his physique, this level of cold was nothing. The three of them walked together, walking at the back. However, the dozen or so people were a little excited and walked in front. After walking out of the withered forest, they quickly walked more than 1,000 feet. There was a pit in front of them about 100 feet long in front of the group. Lin Tian looked at the pit from afar. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. and he felt a sense of crisis. Stop! He saw someone from the dozen or so people in front of him step into the pit and shouted to stop them. Unfortunately, it was too late. The person in front of him had one foot in the pit, and almost in an instant, with a poof, the person directly melted. His flesh and blood turned into nothingness, and not even his bones were left. The others were horrified. They all retreated, staying away from the pit as if they were avoiding snakes and scorpions. At this time, even Xia Qingfeng's expression changed. The person who had stepped into the pit just now had the cultivation of the fifth heavenly layer of the imperial sky realm. His strength was not bad, but he actually died tragically without even being able to make a sound. This was really a little strange. This, just now what happened? Someone asked Lin Tian while trembling in fear. Enter the king of hell's pit and see the king of hell. Lin Tian Dao. The dragon burial scripture that he cultivated allowed him to control the power of heaven and earth. Naturally, there were thousands of different terrains recorded within it. This Yama's pit was one of them. This kind of terrain was much more terrifying than the previous bewildering void layout. As long as one stepped into it, they would definitely die miserably. Even if an expert at the peak of the immortal connecting realm came, it would be impossible for them to survive. It could be said to be a very dangerous layout. Lin Tian furrowed his brows slightly. This immortal devil ancient vein was not simple at all. They had not even reached the depths and were still very far away, but they had already discovered such a terrifying terrain. It was indeed somewhat frightening. Then, what do we do now? Someone asked. Go around it. Stay at least 5 zhang away from the edge of the pit. Lin Tiandao. After he finished speaking, he walked to the right and circled around the pit. With his current level of mastery of the dragon burial scripture, he could directly break through this Yama's pit, but it would consume a lot of energy. However, when encountering such a dangerous situation, as long as he did not step into it, there would not be any difficulties. Therefore, he naturally would not waste his energy to break through this dangerous situation. He would directly circle around the pit and walk. Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu followed behind him. The dozen or so people trembled in fear as they circled around. Soon they were far away from the pit. After they were far away, many people let out a long sigh of relief. When they were walking around the pit earlier, all of them felt as if a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts. After all, they had personally seen a person evaporate into thin air in the pit. Not even his bones and flesh were left behind. That scene was truly a little frightening. The wind seemed to be stronger, and black sand and dust were swept over. What kind of weather is this damn place? Black sand, black wind, it's really strange. Someone said. Behind them, a black wind blew. At first, it was very small, but then it grew larger, forming a tornado that headed in their direction. Lin Tian tilted his head to look. His eyes immediately narrowed. An array of light flashed through them. There's something inside, Xia Qingfeng said in a deep voice. At this time, not only Lin Tian and Xia Qingfeng, but the others also felt that something was wrong. There was an eerie aura coming out of the black tornado, as if there was an evil spirit inside that wanted to eat people. Suddenly, these people's hearts palpitated. Clang! Lin Tian made his move. A long sword appeared in his hand, and he directly slashed forward with a dazzling thunderflame sword light. At the same time, Xia Qingfeng also slashed out with his sword light. It was no weaker than Lin Tian's thunderflame sword light, and it rushed out like an azure dragon. The two sword lights hit the black tornado at the same time. Suddenly, a violent roar came from the tornado. With a chi sound, the tornado that was rushing over broke apart with a cop sound, and a strange creature with black fur all over its body appeared. Its eyes were completely white, and together with the black fur all over its body, it gave people a kind of scalp-tingling feeling. Staring at this creature, Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. When he first entered the immortal demon ancient vein, he also encountered a black tornado. Was this the creature in the tornado? Thinking about it, he should be right. It was covered in black fur, and he had cut off a few of them before. Roar! The strange creature roared, but in the next moment, it disappeared in a flash. Lin Tian was moved. This strange creature's speed was really too fast. Even with his powerful divine sense, he was actually unable to clearly see the other party's movements. Moreover, he even lost all of its aura and could no longer sense it. Xia Qingfeng also frowned slightly, obviously a little surprised. What is that? It looks quite scary. I thought it was going to attack, but why did it just run away? Someone muttered. At this moment, there was a boom, and a black wave of wind suddenly appeared on the horizon behind them. This wave was at least 10 feet tall, and it was completely black. It was like a raging wave that pressed down on the group of people. Suddenly, everyone's expression changed. Boom! The black wave swept over, causing the entire ground to tremble. There was a rumbling sound, as if a great earthquake had occurred. A terrifying wave of energy intertwined with the wave, and even Lin Tian's expression changed. Run! Someone among the dozen people shouted. It was really unrealistic to rely on the strength of a human to resist such a terrifying gale wave. Unless it was an expert at the martial Dao realm, otherwise, it was very likely that one would be crushed into a bloody mist on the spot once one fell into it. Suddenly, the dozen people all began to run. Lin Tian and the other two did not stop. They also ran on their own, and their speed was very fast. They ran away from the black wind and into the depths. The people here were not weak, and their cultivation was not bad. Only Xiaoyu's cultivation was in the sea of consciousness realm. However, with Xia Qingfeng carrying him, just running was not a problem. Soon, the group of people rushed for about 2,000 feet. At this time, the black wave behind them could no longer be seen. It seemed that it did not continue to press forward. It feels like there are 10,000 of those black creatures that appeared just now running around inside. Someone fell to the ground and panted heavily. He could not even speak clearly. Several other people also sat on the ground, wiping away their cold sweat. Lin Tian looked back and shook his head. He said a few words to Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu, and then continued to walk into the depths. However, in the next moment, Lin Tian's expression suddenly changed. He stopped in his tracks, and he suddenly felt a chill on his back. What's wrong, Brother Lin? Xia Qingfeng saw the change in Lin Tian's expression and asked. We're in big trouble, Lin Tian said in a low voice. Hearing what he said, the crowd was moved. Someone who was sitting stood up and said, Big trouble? Everything around us is normal. There doesn't seem to be anything scary. Little brother, are you? Poof! Before that person could finish his words, he exploded without warning. Suddenly, everyone's expression changed. What? What happened? There was nothing just now. Many people were terrified, especially a middle-aged man who was leaning against the person who exploded just now. At this moment, his face turned snow-white. He did not feel anything just now, but the person who spoke next to him died tragically. Not even a scrap of flesh was left. How could he not be terrified? Little brother, what was going on? Someone asked Lin Tian with a trembling voice. Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu also looked at Lin Tian. Clearly, they did not understand. Lin Tian took a deep breath and said, This place is called the Devouring Path, Evil Soil. As the name suggests, even great Dao realm experts will find it difficult to survive. They will be directly swallowed, and it will be difficult for them to walk out alive. What? Even great Dao realm experts will be swallowed? Then, everyone's expression changed. Lin Tian's expression was also slightly serious, because the Devouring Path, Evil Soil, was really terrifying. It was far from being comparable to the King of Hell's Pit. Although he had the Dragon Burial Scripture, his cultivation time was limited after all. He had not completely learned many methods. Now that he encountered such an evil soil, it was very troublesome to break it. Little brother, your methods are extraordinary. You must be an extraordinary person. Can you break through this place? Everyone stared at Lin Tian. By now, these people could tell that Lin Tian was not simple. At the very least, he was very proficient in various terrains. From breaking open the strange, withered forest, to seeing the King of Hell's Pit, to warning everyone, and now discovering the strangeness of this evil soil. Lin Tian was definitely not an ordinary person. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Tian. All of them were counting on Lin Tian. Lin Tian adjusted his breathing and said, "All of you, come to my side." Entering the devouring path evil soil is equivalent to entering a kind of domain that will make it difficult for us to walk out easily. Moreover, in this evil soil, the air will occasionally produce terrifying destructive forces that are difficult to see with the naked eye. Remember to be careful. Come to my side. At the same time, spread out your divine senses to sense the danger. Leave the rest to me. Remember, don't move. If you move, you might die a tragic death. Okay. We'll listen to you, little brother. The dozen or so people hurriedly nodded. These people came to Lin Tian's side. All of them spread out their divine senses and looked around vigilantly. Chapter 603. Lin Tian's expression turned serious. It was not a good thing to fall into the devouring path evil land. He squatted on the ground, and the dragon patterns on his feet flickered. He quickly sank into the ground to explore this ominous land. At the same time, he also thought of the other side. Just now, the black waves of wind rolled toward them. It seemed that they were deliberately forcing them into the devouring path evil land. Are there really 10,000 of those black creatures in that wave? He thought of what one of them said before. After thinking about it, it seemed to be possible. He shook his head and did not think about it for the time being. Instead, he used the dragon patterns to explore the land and made calculations on the ground, deducing the various changes of the terrain. He controlled the dragon burial scripture. In the god burial mountain range, he could mobilize the endless evil spirit and strange spiritual energy of the underground world to fight. However, he could not do so here. Compared to the god burial mountain range, this place was a bit different. This was a pure ominous land. It was difficult for him to mobilize the power inside. At least, it was impossible for him to do so with the current level of the dragon burial scripture he controlled. Cracking this place and safely walking out was already his current limit. Moreover, it would consume a lot of his energy to do so. Around him, the crowd looked at him with anticipation in their eyes. No one disturbed him. They all held their breaths. Now everything depended on Lin Tian. Lin Tian's eyes flickered. The dragon patterns on the soles of his feet became brighter. Under the situation where no one could see them, they went deeper into the land and spread in all directions in the underground world. He seriously deduced and analyzed and at the same time changed some of the directions of the ley lines. Soon, half an hour passed. "Little brother, how is it?" Someone could not help but ask. "Shut up. Don't disturb the little brother's deduction," someone shouted in a low voice. The person who asked immediately shut his mouth and did not dare to speak again. Xia Qingfeng protected his sister behind him. At the same time, he was the closest to Lin Tian. He guarded Lin Tian and carefully looked around. In the blink of an eye, another half an hour passed. At this time, Lin Tian finally stood up from the ground. In an instant, everyone's gazes landed on him. They were all filled with anticipation and light. Facing their gazes, Lin Tiandao said, "Later on, I will use a special method to guide the Dao devouring evil soil. There will be a large amount of black light rushing up, and there will be a gap in the black light. This gap will only last for about 2 breaths of time. Remember, only 2 breaths of time. You must rush out within 2 breaths of time. Otherwise, you will definitely die." Hearing him say this, many people instantly trembled and fiercely swallowed their saliva. "Only 2 breaths of time? I'll remember it," someone said with a trembling voice. Lin Tian's eyes flickered as he swept his gaze over everyone. "Are you ready?" Okay. Done. Many people spoke one after another. These people were all slightly arched, ready to sprint at any time. Lin Tian looked at Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu and nodded slightly. Then, he stomped on the ground with his right foot. With a boom, in an instant, the ground shook and a large amount of black light rushed up and shrouded the surroundings. The black light seemed to want to devour people's souls. Suddenly, A terrifying aura intertwined in all directions, causing everyone to be shocked. The black light enveloped the surroundings, and there was only a gap in the corner in front of them. Through this gap, one could see that the black light was more than 1,000 feet thick. It stretched all the way forward, and the black light on both sides jumped slightly like flames. "Let's go," Lin Tian said in a low voice. The moment he finished speaking, his body turned into a stream of light and rushed out like lightning. Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu followed closely behind him. The others roared and used all the strength in their bodies to madly charge forward. 2 breaths passed in the blink of an eye. Ah! Screams of agony came from behind, and it was chilling. There was the sound of a bloody mist exploding in the air, but it soon quieted down. Lin Tian was the first to rush out, followed by Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu. The other 5 also rushed out. At this moment, they were half-bowed, gasping for breath, and their foreheads were full of sweat. Lin Tian looked behind him and shook his head slightly. Apart from Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu, only 5 of the other 10 people survived. The rest were all dead. Dead. They were alive. Several people were horrified. Lin Tian retracted his gaze. After discussing with Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu for a while, he stepped into the depths of the ancient vein. The other 5 people's faces were pale. At this moment, they really wanted to leave the immortal demon ancient vein immediately, but Lin Tian stepped into the depths, and they could only follow. After everything that had happened just now, they had deeply felt the terror of this ancient vein. It was like every step was filled with death. At this moment, if they went back alone without Lin Tian, they would probably die tragically if they took a wrong step. So, how could they dare to go back? At this time, following Lin Tian was the most sensible choice. The ground of the immortal demon ancient vein was dark, as if it had been dyed by ink. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Whoosh! The wind blew in the air, bringing up bits of black sand. The sky darkened. It was now night time, and there was a faint mist in the air. They walked all the way into the depths of the ancient vein. After an unknown period of time, a red light suddenly appeared in front of them. Looking ahead, there was a small pool on the horizon. The pool was not big, but it was very strange. The water inside was like human blood. Lin Tian's body shook, and his expression changed. Blood prison pool? His scalp went numb. The blood prison pool was another terrifying terrain recorded in the dragon burial scripture. It was even worse than the devouring path, evil soil. Once approached, one would be pulled into the blood pool by an unknown force. Once in the blood pool, one would be melted, and even one's soul would not be able to survive. One would be destroyed in an instant. Lin Tian cultivated the dragon burial scripture, but it was impossible for him to break out of a dangerous situation like the blood prison pool. If he tried to break it by force, he would definitely die. He would be pulled into the blood pool. Retreat! He shouted in a low voice and was the first to retreat. Seeing him like this, the others immediately felt a chill on their scalps. Without any hesitation, they ran back the way they came. However, among these people, there was one person who was retreating. His body floated in the air as he was pulled by an unknown force. With a putong sound, he fell into the blood-like pool. He did not even cause a large wave as he directly sank. Someone looked behind him, and his scalp went numb. He ran madly into the distance. After running for an unknown period of time, the others only stopped when Lin Tian stopped. Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu narrowed their eyes. The others' faces were pale, and their legs and stomachs were cramping. What the hell is that? Xia Xiaoyu stared ahead. The pool was not big. It was blood-red and demonic. A bit of mist floated up and lingered on the surface of the blood pool. It was very terrifying. The blood prison pool can be compared to the blood river in the 18 layers of hell. It can devour everything. Lin Tian on Dao. Xia Xiaoyu trembled and grabbed his brother's clothes tightly. Then what should we do now? Go around it? The blood prison pool was blocking their way. At this moment, they couldn't even get close. They could only go around it. No need. The terrain here is special. It'll take too much time to go around it. It'll take at least 2 days to go around it. Lin Tian shook his head and said, the blood prison pool only appears at midnight. After midnight, the blood-like water will slowly seep into the ground. At that time, we can directly walk through it. There's no need to make any other preparations. Xia Xiaoyu nodded and didn't say anything else. Brother Lin is really extraordinary. I'm afraid that even the people of the Xuanlong family can't compare to you. Xia Qingfeng sighed. Yes, brother, you're too amazing. None of the major dangerous places can escape your divine eyes. How did you do it? It's amazing. The others also said, these people, including Xia Qingfeng and Xia Xiaoyu, had been trapped in the immortal demon ancient vein for 2 months. They naturally didn't know what had happened in the outside world. They had never heard of Lin Tian's rumors, so they naturally didn't know that Lin Tian cultivated the dragon burial scripture. Lin Tian didn't say much about this. He just said that he had studied many ancient books and knew a lot about the general situation. At this moment, they were on a small hill. As the sky darkened, the fog in the air became thicker. It's colder and gloomier. Xia Xiaoyu muttered. Xia Qingfeng patted Xia Xiaoyu's head and stood together with Lin Tian. Lin Tian glanced around and said, it'll still be some time before midnight. At that time, the blood prison pool will disappear. During this time, for safety reasons, the 8 of us will rely on. Suddenly, he felt a chill down his spine. 8 people? Just now, 1 person had died in the blood prison pool. There should only be 7 of them here. However, including himself, there were clearly 8 figures in this place. Almost at the same time, Xia Qingfeng's expression also changed. There's 1 more person among us. Someone was terrified. A long sword appeared in Lin Tian's hand. The sword light was dazzling, and the light of thunder flames instantly illuminated the surroundings. Not far away, a middle-aged man stood in a daze. Half of his body was covered in a black shadow that was gnawing on his head. Blood and brain matter covered the middle-aged man's cheeks. More than half of his head had been eaten. Seeing this scene, some people's scalps went numb, and their faces turned pale. Xia Xiaoyu grabbed Xia Qingfeng's clothes and retched on the spot. The black shadow that was gnawing on the middle-aged man's head looked up. Its body was covered in black hair, and its eyes were dead white. It grinned at the crowd as if it was laughing eerily. Its mouth was full of eerie yellow teeth that looked like sharp teeth. As it grinned, the brain matter and blood in its mouth immediately mixed together and flowed down from the corner of its mouth, dripping to the ground. It's the monster in the black wind that appeared before. Someone said in a trembling voice. Clang! Almost at the same time, the ear-piercing sound of a sword rang out. Lin Tian swung his sword, and the thunder flame sword directly slashed forward. The thunder flame sword that he slashed out was extremely fast and arrived in the blink of an eye. Chapter 604. Brain matter mixed with blood dripped from the mouth of the white-eyed monster. This time, the monster didn't immediately disappear. Instead, it stopped after retreating a few meters away. It stood there and stared at the group of people with a gloomy expression. It grinned, revealing its withered yellow and sharp teeth. It was like a malicious spirit staring at its prey, giving off a creepy feeling. What is that? Someone trembled. The white-eyed monster was humanoid, with wisps of black mist swirling around its body. It was full of gloomy, evil energy. It's not the good kind. Lin Tiandao. As soon as he finished speaking, the long sword in his hand shook, and the sword light rose again, slashing toward the white-eyed monster in front of him. Next to him, Xia Qingfeng did not hesitate. He waved his palm, and a golden palm print pressed forward. With a whoosh, the white-eyed monster was extremely fast. It dodged Lin Tian's sword light and Xia Qingfeng's palm print. So fast. Not far away, a middle-aged man's heart palpitated. The white-eyed monster dodged to the side, and its dead white eyes stared at the group of people. Suddenly, it grinned and let out a strange cry. The cry was like glass rubbing against each other, and black mist swirled around its body. It was extremely strange. Lin Tian looked ahead, and his expression suddenly turned cold. All around them, piles of strange black hair slowly emerged from the ground, followed by pairs of dead white eyes. Something was slowly rising from the ground. After a few breaths, creatures similar to the white-eyed monster at the beginning appeared. They were densely packed, and it was difficult to count how many there were. They surrounded the 6 of them in the center. In terms of size, these densely packed monsters were slightly smaller than the white-eyed monster that had appeared at the beginning. The black fog around their bodies was also not as dense as the white-eyed monster that had appeared at the beginning. However, they all emitted an evil aura. Someone trembled. There were as many as 10,000 white-eyed monsters, and each of them had dead white eyes. It was as creepy as it could be. Lin Tian's gaze swept across the densely packed, white-eyed monsters. He saw a monster with sword scars and tattered fur. Instantly, his eyes narrowed. The other party still had his own sword chi. It was the same one he encountered when he first entered the immortal devil ancient vein. At that time, the other party attacked him and was slashed several times by him. At the same time, looking at these monsters, he finally understood why they could always silently disappear quickly. They should have directly disappeared into the depths of the ground, which was why he did not notice at that time. Furthermore, the black storm from before should have been caused by these monsters as well. They wanted to force all of them to their deaths. So many, Xia Xiaoyu whispered. Xia Qingfeng stared ahead as a long sword appeared in his hand. At this time, the white-eyed monster that had appeared at the beginning let out a strange cry again. It seemed to be the leader of the other white-eyed monsters. After a strange cry, the other white-eyed monsters all rushed toward the center, toward Lin Tian and the others. For a moment, it was as if a black wave was surging over. The scene was extremely horrifying. Clang! The long sword in Lin Tian's hand hummed as he directly used the sun-incinerating sword technique, slashing out streaks of flaming sword light. Poof! 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 In the blink of an eye, the dozens of white-eyed monsters at the front were directly cut into pieces. Buzz! Xia Qingfeng protected Xia Xiaoyu while waving the long sword in his hand. The sword light was also extremely powerful, which shocked Lin Tian. The Immortal Ascension realm? He felt the fluctuation of divine power from the other party, and it was very condensed. This surprised him. This purple-robed young man was really not simple. His cultivation and combat strength were both shockingly strong. Ah! A shrill scream was heard. On the other side, someone was in trouble. He was drowned by dozens of white-eyed monsters. His flesh was eaten clean in the blink of an eye, and not even his bones were left. Only a little bit of blood was left on the ground. D*MN monsters. Die. Kill. The other 2 middle-aged men roared and attacked crazily. Their faces were as pale as snow. In this place, vital essence and divine light intertwined with eerie Yin-Chi. Dense white-eyed monsters surrounded them. If there were only 1 or 2 of these white-eyed monsters, it would not be a big deal. However, at this moment, there were more than 10,000 of these monsters attacking together. The scene was extremely chaotic, and the pressure they brought was shocking. Even Lin Tian and Xia Qingfeng could not help but frown. They could only use the continuous sword light around their bodies to defend against these monsters. A strange cry rang out. Suddenly, the white-eyed monster in the lead moved, charging towards the center like a specter. Not ordinary. Lin Tian's eyes flashed with a touch of darkness. The long sword in his hand vibrated, and the sword light spread out. He slashed out 180 streaks of sword light in a row. In the other direction, Xia Qingfeng protected Xia Xiaoyu while also unleashing his sword light. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. The 2 of them killed the white-eyed monsters that were charging toward them while charging toward the leading monster. The leading white-eyed monster was very fast. It was really like a ghost, and it dodged the sword light slashed out by the 2 of them. With a screech, it pounced on the 2 of them again. At the same time, more white-eyed monsters attacked from all directions. Almost all of their attacks were concentrated on Lin Tian and Xia Qingfeng. For a moment, Lin Tian frowned. There were really too many of these monsters. Clang, clang, clang. The two of them brandished their long swords, and streaks of blood light flashed. However, the white-eyed monsters seemed to be endless. In the depths of the ground, similar monsters kept emerging. Not far away, two middle-aged men leaned against each other. Their faces were pale, and their hands were trembling as they attacked crazily. What should we do? Why? Why are there so many of them? All around them, the monsters were densely packed together. There was no end to them, no end to them. The two of them were terrified, especially when they thought about how one of them had been devoured by these monsters until not even his bones were left. They were even more terrified. The supreme treasure sword in Lin Tian's hand slashed out, forcing back the ordinary white-eyed monsters and blocking the leading white-eyed monster. At the same time, he looked at the changes in the sky. After a few dozen breaths, a faint light flashed in his eyes. Midnight has passed. The blood pool should have disappeared. Let's go deeper, he said in a low voice. The long sword in his hand shone brightly, and a terrifying sword aura spread out. He directly used the 10th sword of the sun, incinerating sword. Suddenly, with a boom, a sea of fire swords appeared, annihilating a large number of white-eyed monsters on the spot and opening up a gap. Let's go, he said, taking a step forward. Xia Qingfeng pulled Xia Xiaoyu and followed behind Lin Tian. The other two middle-aged men who were still alive also chased after them, trembling. The leading white-eyed monster roared and pounced forward. Lin Tian and Xia Qingfeng were very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had rushed far away. The other two used all their skills and followed closely behind the two of them. Very soon, they rushed out into the distance. When Lin Tian came to the location of the blood pool, the pool had indeed dried up. He did not hesitate and walked forward quickly. There were too many white-eyed monsters. Even a great path master would not be able to kill them all, let alone the few of them. When the time came, they might die from exhaustion. He could not fight them. An ear-piercing scream came from behind. The leading white-eyed monster led the other white-eyed monsters to chase after them like a black wave. So scary. Xia Xiaoyu shrunk his neck. Then don't look back, Xia Qingfeng said. Xia Qingfeng said, following closely behind Lin Tian with Xia Xiaoyu. As for the other two middle-aged men, their faces were even paler. At this moment, they wished they could grow 2 more legs and run as fast as they could. In the blink of an eye, the 5 of them rushed past the blood pool and continued to rush into the depths without any hesitation or pause. After running for a long time, the violent cries behind them weakened. The group of white-eyed monsters did not chase after them anymore. They don't want to chase too far? A middle-aged man said, panting. At this moment, this man was sweating profusely and his clothes were soaked. You're thinking too much. Lin Tiandao. After walking together for so long, he also knew the names of the 2 middle-aged men. They were Lu Xiong and Zhao De, both at the peak of the 9th heaven of the Zephyr realm. This time, they came to the immortal demon ancient range to find some treasures and hoped to enter the immortal connecting realm in one go. He stared ahead. At this moment, he stopped in his tracks with a serious expression. Not far away, a tall figure was striding forward. His hair was withered and yellow like wild grass. As he walked step by step, the aura of death rolled like waves. Clearly, he was not a living person. This seems to be a former royal lord of the Great Zhou dynasty. At his peak, he was half a step into the Great Path realm. Because his lifespan had dried up, he walked into this immortal demon ancient range to find treasures to prolong his life. Unexpectedly, he died here. Moreover, his corpse has already gained intelligence. Xia Qingfeng was slightly shocked. Hearing this, Lu Xiong and Zhao De were both shocked. Those white-eyed monsters just now were afraid of this old corpse. It's very obvious. Lin Tiandao. In front, the old corpse strode over. Every step he took produced a thud. Clearly, his physical body was very terrifying. Lu Xiong's heart palpitated. A half step into the Great Path realm cultivator gained intelligence after death. How do we deal with this? There's only one corpse. It's not difficult to deal with. In comparison, this is much easier than facing those densely packed, white-eyed monsters. Lin Tiandao said, looking at its slightly sluggish gaze. The corpse should have just gained intelligence not long ago. Let's combine our strength and force it back with one strike. Then, we'll charge into the depths at extreme speed. This way, we can shake it off more easily. Okay. We'll listen to everything you say, Zhao said. The old corpse walked over. As if smelling the scent of living people, it instantly opened its mouth and roared, pouncing towards the 5 of them ferociously. It was also at this moment that Lin Tiandao shouted, "Attack! Use all your strength." After saying this, he directly unleashed the Bai family's Grand Celestial King arcane art and pressed it towards the old corpse. True origin fluctuations shook all directions. Clang! Xia Qingfeng attacked. With a slash of his sword radiance fell like a net. At the same time, Lu Xiong and Zhao also attacked. They exerted all their strength and unleashed their strongest attacks towards the old corpse. In the end, even Xia Xiaoyu, who was in the spiritual sea realm, attacked. Her small face was flushed red as she pushed out a circle of light. Boom! With a loud bang, all the attacks landed on the old corpse. Instantly, the old corpse was pushed back more than 100 feet. Let's go, Lin Tiandao said in a low voice. With a step, he rushed into the distance. The others naturally did not hesitate. Their speed was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they left the old corpse behind. Chapter 605. After shaking off the old emperor, with Lin Tian as the leader, the group of people ran madly, only stopping after a quarter of an hour. No, I can't take it anymore. I need to rest. Lu Xiong gasped for breath. Zhao was the same. His face was pale and bloodless as he fell to the ground. Upon seeing this, Lin Tian also came to a halt. Previously, he had cracked the Tao devouring evil soil, fought with many white-eyed monsters, and ran wildly all the way. Although his complexion appeared normal, in reality, he had already exhausted quite a lot of his energy. At this moment, it was indeed time for him to rest and adjust his aura before proceeding. This way, he would be able to better deal with any danger he encountered. He looked at Xia Qingfeng. He had been protecting Xia Xiaoyu along the way, but his expression was the same as usual. Brother Xia is so strong, he said sincerely. Xia Qingfeng shook his head and said modestly, "Not at all. I can't compare to Brother Lin. Brother Lin is still stronger. Along the way, we have encountered many obstacles. If it weren't for Brother Lin, we wouldn't have known how many rounds we had walked in the netherworld." Stop flattering each other. You too. Xia Xiaoyu rolled her eyes. Xia Qingfeng knocked Xia Xiaoyu. Rude. Xia Xiaoyu stuck out her tongue, not afraid of Xia Qingfeng at all. If Brother Lin is stronger than you, she said. Lin Tian was speechless. This girl really had character. At night, the immortal demon Ancient Vein was shrouded in a faint mist. The air was even colder, and there were occasional roars of strange beasts. The 5 of them rested for about 4 hours. After 4 hours, Lin Tian had completely adjusted his essence, energy, and spirit. At this time, the sky gradually brightened. The night had passed, and it was dawn. Let's go, Lin Tian said. After 4 hours, Lu Xiong and Zhao had also recovered a lot of strength. The 5 of them went deeper. This time, they walked for 2 days. In 2 days, the 5 of them encountered many dangerous situations. One of them almost caused the 5 of them to be wiped out. If Lin Tian didn't have the dragon burial scripture and solved the situation at the last moment, they would have all been turned into thick blood. During this process, the 5 of them also encountered quite a number of ferocious demons that resembled the white-eyed monster. But in the end, they managed to survive. On this day, the 5 of them finally arrived at the depths of the ancient vein. As far as the eye could see, The entire sky in this area was covered by dark clouds. The sky was dark and oppressive, giving people a very oppressive feeling. It was as if a 1,000-pound boulder was suddenly placed on one's chest, making it difficult to breathe. What a terrifying place, Xia Xiaoyu mumbled. Up ahead, the soil was very black, and there were many caves like mines. This little brother, which way should we go? Lu Xiong looked at Lin Tian. Along the way, Lin Tian had brought them out of various dangerous situations safely several times. His attainments in the pattern of heaven and earth had shocked them. They all felt that in this aspect, Lin Tian was even better than those experts from the Xuanlong family. At this moment, there were about dozens of caves in front of them. They all looked the same, and there was no dangerous aura. However, they did not dare to be careless. All of them looked at Lin Tian, waiting for Lin Tian's judgment. Brother Lin, where should we go? Xia Xiaoyu asked. Along the way, not only was Lin Tian powerful and had brought them out of dangerous situations several times, but he was also very humble and did not have the slightest arrogance. This made the little girl admire Lin Tian very much. She kept calling him Brother Lin very respectfully. Let me have a look. You guys wait. Lin Tian on Dao. He walked forward, and the dragon patterns on the soles of his feet flickered, sinking into the ground. He used the dragon patterns to investigate dozens of caves. After a long while, he stopped and pointed forward casually. He used the dragon patterns to explore the ground and found that the dozens of caves were converging towards a point. In other words, no matter which cave they went to, it was actually the same. Immediately, the 5 of them walked inside. After entering the cave, Lin Tian walked at the front. With every step, the dragon patterns on the soles of his feet flickered, quickly sinking into the ground to sense everything in this place. Gradually, as he walked far into the cave, wisps of light appeared in his eyes. In this underground world of the cave, he felt a majestic, strange power that could be controlled by him. He did not say anything, but more dragon patterns surged out from the soles of his feet, flowing into the ground one by one to communicate with the ley lines. This cave was very spacious, but it was very dark, giving people a gloomy feeling. "Da-ba, da-ba, da-ba." The 5 of them walked in. Because they did not speak, the sound of their footsteps kept echoing. Soon another dozen breaths passed, and the ground of this cave suddenly shook. What's wrong? Lu Xiong's expression changed. The cave shook violently, as if there was an earthquake, and it was even difficult to stand still. Ah! A scream was heard. The ground under Xia Xiaoyu's feet suddenly collapsed, and he fell directly, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Xiaoyu! Xia Qingfeng's expression changed. Zhao De trembled and said, Just now, I think I saw a beast claw covered in red hair grab her ankle. Xia Qingfeng was usually very calm and gentle, but at this moment, his face was full of anxiety. He took a step forward and was about to jump into the hole where Xia Xiaoyu fell into the ground. At this moment, Lin Tian reached out and pulled him back. His eyes flickered as he looked back and forth. It was born in the ancestral dragon vein of a certain heaven. Unfortunately, it was too evil and was unwilling to be kind. Therefore, celestial venerable dragon burial scripture could only bury it in the end, and the so-called bury was to kill it. Lin Tian stared at the depths of the cave. His eyes flickered, and the dragon veins on the bottom of his feet became denser, extending all the way. The reason why he was able to find Xia Xiaoyu so quickly and rescue him from the underground was because he had cast countless dragon patterns into the underground world from the moment he entered the cavern. The cavern contained an extremely boundless foreign energy. Through the dragon patterns, he mobilized the foreign energy, which was why he was able to rescue Xia Xiaoyu so quickly. During this process, he also discovered how terrifying the spirit demon that had attacked Xia Xiaoyu was. Just now, he had taken control of the situation in the mountain cave and borrowed the majestic power to kill the spirit demon. However, the spirit demon had escaped so easily. As a result, his heart sank slightly. In terms of strength, the spirit demon was comparable to a half-step Great Tao expert at the very least. It's at the half-step Great Tao realm. It's not weaker than me. However, I can deal with it. The black dragon transmitted its voice. It had been lying on Lin Tian's shoulder. Earlier, when Lin Tian attacked the spirit demon, it naturally felt the general strength of the other party. No need. Just like the god burial mountain, this will be my domain, he replied. This cave was no longer a dangerous terrain. He could rely on the dragon burial scripture to mobilize the majestic strange power below. In this place, although he did not set up the dragon burial formation and the eternal killing formation in advance, it was not too much of a problem to deal with an opponent at the half-step Great Tao realm. If he wanted to, he could definitely kill it here. The black dragon did not say anything else and quieted down. Lin Tian retracted the light in his eyes. He turned to Xia Qingfeng and the others and said, "Let's continue to go deeper." "This continue? But little brother, what about that humanoid creature just now?" Zhao was slightly worried. This person naturally did not know that the humanoid creature was a spirit demon, nor did he know its strength. However, from a quick glance just now, he could feel how terrifying the other party was. It was very powerful and evil. "Don't worry, there won't be a problem." Lin Tian Dao. Since Lin Tian had said so, Zhao naturally would not doubt it. "Little brother, if you say there won't be a problem, then there definitely won't be a problem." Lin Tianyi smiled and walked at the front, heading deeper into the cave. About a quarter of an hour later, the air gradually became no longer cold, and the front suddenly became open. There were even some strange plants in the field of vision. They were all strange species that were rarely seen in the outside world, and they grew in strange shapes. It was also at this moment that a wisp of fire flashed not far away. A 2-inch tall, fiery, strange plant grew in a corner. Its branches swayed, and a rich fragrance filled the air. Kirin treasure medicine. Chapter 606. Qilin herbs were usually 2 inches tall and red all over. They looked like the legendary Qilin, hence their name. This kind of herb had extremely strong vitality and could survive anywhere. It was said that it could extend one's lifespan by about 200 years. Qilin herb. It's a Qilin herb. Xia Xiaoyu was excited. She and her brother had taken the risk to come to the immortal demon ancient range to find life-extending herbs. How could she not be surprised? At the side, even Xia Qingfeng could not remain calm. On the other side, Lu Xiong and Zhao De's eyes lit up. Life-extending herbs. This was a great treasure. Lin Tian's eyes flickered. He paused and looked at Xia Qingfeng. "Brother Qingfeng, go get it." All along the way, he'd gotten along extremely well with this pair of brother and sister, and he had a very good impression of them. Moreover, they were searching for life-prolonging, treasured medicines to prolong the lives of their seniors, and they were fulfilling their filial piety. Thus, he naturally wouldn't compete with this pair of brother and sister. Moreover, although the Qilin herb was precious, he had obtained an even more precious 7 orifices exquisite pill, which could extend one's life by 500 years. It was much better than the Qilin herb. Now, this herb was not very attractive to him. Xia Qingfeng was shocked and looked at Lin Tian. "Is this okay? Didn't you two come to find life-extending herbs for your elders?" Lin Tian Dao. Not far away, although Lu Xiong and Zhao De were excited, they took a small step back. Clearly, they did not intend to fight. After all, if they really fought, they could not win against Xia Qingfeng. Xia Qingfeng was in the immortal connecting realm. Moreover, along the way, Lin Tian had been the one to break through all the dangers, and the few ferocious demons they encountered were basically all repelled by Xia Qingfeng and Lin Tian's joint efforts. The two of them were able to make it here alive partly because of Xia Qingfeng, so how could they have the qualifications to compete now? "Wait, there's another one!" Xia Xiaoyu suddenly shouted. Not far away, in a corner, there was also a 2-inch tall fiery variant plant. It was also a Qilin treasure medicine. Lin Tianyi was stunned, then smiled. "This is even better." He and Xia Qingfeng stepped to one side, and each picked a Qilin herb. They carefully put it away. Thank you, Brother Lin. Thank you. Qing Feng will definitely remember this favor. Xia Qing Feng walked back and sincerely expressed his thanks to Lin Tian. It could be said that he had completely relied on Lin Tian to obtain the Qilin medicine. Moreover, at the beginning, when he had only discovered a stock of Qilin precious medicine, Lin Tian had actually not fought over it with him. One had to know that this was a precious medicine that could extend one's life by 200 years, and its value was immeasurable. After arriving here and discovering the precious medicine, Lin Tian originally had the absolute right to take the precious medicine for himself. But at that time, he had to yield to him. This made him feel moved and grateful from the bottom of his heart. Fortunately, there were 2 stalks of Qilin treasured medicine, and Lin Tian also obtained 1 stalk. This made him feel slightly more at ease. Then, he looked at Lu Xiong and Zhao De at the side and bowed slightly. Thank you, seniors, for your modesty. Lin Tianwei smiled. This Xia Qingfeng was really a good person. One had to know that with Lu Xiong and Zhao De's strength, they were simply too weak in front of Xia Qingfeng. They could not even block a single blow from Xia Qingfeng. Even if the 2 of them wanted to compete, they would definitely not be able to obstruct Xia Qingfeng in the slightest. However, at this time, Xia Qingfeng still thanked the 2 of them like a true gentleman. Thank you, Brother Lin. Xia Xiaoyu's voice was very sweet, and she also thanked Lin Tiandao seriously. The Qilin treasured medicine was indeed very important to the siblings. At this time, this girl appeared very obedient. Lin Tiantan smiled and glanced at the depths of the cave. He asked Xia Qingfeng, I still want to go deeper. What about you too? Xia Qingfeng and his sister came to look for life-extending treasures. Now that they had obtained them, there was no need to continue moving forward. They could return and leave the immortal demon Ancient Vein. With Xia Qingfeng's strength, he had already encountered many dangerous situations along the way. If he returned now, he could avoid them in advance and safely leave the immortal demon Ancient Vein should not be a problem. Xia Qingfeng smiled and said, Of course we will advance and retreat together, Brother Lin. We will go in and out together. Together, Xia Xiaoyu echoed. Lin Tianyi smiled and looked at Zhao De and Lu Xiong. The 2 of them naturally agreed to continue following Lin Tian. It should be known that they had relied on Lin Tian to survive along the way. Now, they did not dare to stray too far from Lin Tian. They were not as strong as Xia Qingfeng. Now that they returned, they might be able to avoid some dangerous situations in advance. However, with their strength, it was absolutely impossible for them to resist some powerful, fierce demons. Moreover, they had come to the immortal demon Ancient Vein to find some treasures. Now that Lin Tian was here, they felt that following Lin Tian would give them hope of finding some treasures. Then let's go deeper. Lin Tiandao. His goal here was Lingjing. Of course, obtaining a Qilin treasure medicine could be considered an unexpected surprise. 200 years of lifespan was very valuable. The dragon patterns intertwined in the underground world. He could feel a very rich spiritual energy coming from the depths. Moreover, there were creatures like spirit demons in this place. He believed that Lingjing would definitely be in the depths of the cave. Immediately, he walked at the front and continued to move deeper into the cave. Xia Qingfeng and the other 3 followed behind him and walked deeper into the cave. As they went deeper, the air became warmer and warmer, and the spiritual energy fluctuations became denser and denser. Soon, the 5 of them had walked far away. At this moment, a strong and terrifying murderous aura rushed toward them. They could only see a red light flashing in their direction. It's that humanoid creature from before. Zhao De's expression changed. The others were also shocked. Even Xia Qingfeng was no exception. They all felt an extremely terrifying aura. They were on high alert, but soon they were shocked again. The other party's speed was too fast. They could not see it clearly. It's comparable to a half-step great Dao expert, Xia Qingfeng said in a low voice. These words undoubtedly caused Zhao De and Lu Xiong to tremble again. Comparable to a half-step great Dao expert? How could they resist? Little brother, Zhao De looked at Lin Tian. Before this, Lin Tian had repelled the other party. He seemed to have some special means. Lin Tian's eyes flickered. The dragon patterns on the soles of his feet spread. His gaze moved, and he suddenly slashed to the left. The sword whistled ear-piercingly as it flew over with a ball of black light. With a bang, a ball of red light flew out and smashed into the wall not far away. At this moment, Xia Qingfeng and the other three saw the monster's appearance clearly. They immediately revealed shocked expressions. Spirit demon? Some ancient books had records of such terrifying creatures. Now that they saw it clearly, they recognized it. There's actually such a creature in this place. It's very rare. It's comparable to a king body. Lu Xiong's heart trembled. Spirit demons, like the king physique, could be called the darling of the heavens. If they were fine, they could cultivate all the way to the chaotic realm. In front of them, the spirit demon stood up. It was as tall as an ordinary person. Its body was covered in red hair, and its face was not much different from an ape's. Its pupils were silver, and it stared at Lin Tian with hostility. There was a hint of fear in its silver pupils. At the same time, it glanced at Xia Xiaoyu. It stuck out its tongue and licked its lips with a sinister intent. It's as evil as recorded in the ancient books. It's hard to change one's nature. Lin Tian snorted. He stomped his right foot on the ground. A dragon's roar came from the earth veins, and a strange force surged up from the ground. The spirit demon stared at Lin Tian. Its silver pupils were filled with killing intent. With a roar, it charged over with a violent, murderous aura. This murderous aura was aimed at Lin Tian, but it was too strong. Zhao De and Lu Xiong were directly shaken to the point of rolling on the ground. Xia Qingfeng took a step forward. Divine light shone around him. Clearly, he wanted to fight alongside Lin Tian. I'll do it, Lin Tian on Dao. At this time, the strange force underground had been completely mobilized. Instantly, it turned into a wave of black light and rushed out. The spirit demon rushed over and met this wave of black light head-on. It was directly drowned in it. Lin Tian activated the dragon burial scripture. The wave of black light turned into a killing light. It contained dragon patterns. Like immortal sharp blades, they wildly slashed at the spirit demon, causing it to roar. Then it screamed in pain and was sent flying dozens of feet away. With a roar of shock and anger, the spirit demon instantly sank into the ground and fled again. Lin Tian couldn't catch up with it even with his dragon patterns. It's running away pretty fast. He narrowed his eyes slightly. Previously, when this spirit devil had captured Xia Xiaoyu, he had directly shaken it out of the ground with the dragon mark. After that, the spirit devil had escaped. It seemed that after that, this spirit devil had become wary of him, or it could be said that it was no longer careless. A few red hairs floated on the ground. It looked a little scary. Brother Lin, you're amazing, Xia Qingfeng said. He could sense the powerhouse of that spirit demon, but it was repelled by Lin Tian just like that. So strong. Xia Xiaoyu's eyes lit up as he stared straight at Lin Tian. Zhao De and Lu Xiong came over, palpitating and shocked. Little brother, you're really a god. You can even repel a spirit demon. The two of them were really shocked. They felt that Lin Tian was like a god. Lin Tian shook his head and smiled faintly. Then, he continued to lead the few of them into the depths. At the same time, he told them to be careful and follow him. In the air, the fluctuation of spiritual energy became stronger and stronger. As they continued to walk deeper, the half-step Great Tao Realm Spirit Demon attacked several times. Each attack was crazier than the last, causing Zhao De and Lu Xiong to tremble in fear. However, gradually, the two of them were no longer afraid. This was because every time the spirit demon attacked, it was repelled by Lin Tian, causing the spirit demon to escape. This made the two of them feel relieved. Soon an hour passed. At this time, the fluctuation of spiritual energy in the air was extremely rich. Looking over, the stone wall in front of them suddenly changed. It was no longer pitch black. Instead, it was sparkling and translucent like a piece of precious jade. This is Ling Jing. Lu Xiong was moved. Zhao De was even more shocked. This is so much. Even Lin Tian was stunned. In front, Ling Jing was piled up piece by piece and merged into the stone wall. After careful calculation, he found that according to the size of a human head, these Ling Jing were at least the size of 500 human heads. This could definitely be called a treasure trove. Lin Tian was delighted. With so many Ling Jing, it was enough for him to pay the clairvoyant for calculating by Qiu and by Ziki. Chapter 607. 500 pieces of Ling Jing the size of a human head really surprised Lin Tian. This amount of Ling Jing was not something that could be gathered even with the combined resources of dozens of small sections. At this moment, a fierce roar sounded, and the spirit demon pressed over, both shocked and furious. These pieces of Ling Jing seemed to be its food. Lin Tian snorted, and his right leg shook. Instantly, a black light rippled out, directly sending the spirit demon flying more than 30 meters away. The spirit demon roared, and after rolling on the ground, it disappeared in an instant. Lin Tian snorted, but did not pay it any attention. He walked forward and waved the long sword in his hand, cutting off a large piece of Ling Jing. In terms of quantity, it was about the size of 100 human heads. He carefully put it into his stone ring, and used it as a payment to the divine divination pavilion later. "Come and take some," Lin Tian said. Xia Qingfeng shook his head repeatedly. Lin Tian had already given up a Kirin treasure medicine, so how could he still want Ling Jing now? Zhao De and Lu Xiong wanted to go forward, but they felt embarrassed. After all, they really did not have the qualifications to take it. Lin Tian saw that the two of them were reserved, so he personally cut out some Ling Jing with his long sword and handed it to the two of them, saying, "Since you came together, I naturally can't let you return empty-handed. Take these Ling Jing." The pieces of Ling Jing he gave them were about the size of several human heads. If they were to be sold, they could be sold for a very high price. Thank you, little brother." In the end, the two of them put away the pieces of Ling Jing that Lin Tian gave them. There were still many pieces of Ling Jing left. Lin Tian half-squatted, and the dragon patterns on the soles of his feet flickered, guiding the strange power in this area to quickly surround the remaining pieces of Ling Jing, forming a dragon burial protective formation. "Brother Qingfeng, I plan to use the remaining pieces of Ling Jing to cultivate. Let Xiao Yu join me," he said to Xia Qingfeng. Back then, he had spent a head-sized piece of Ling Jing to advance from Zephyr 5th stage to 6th stage. After that, he estimated that he would need to spend 20 or 30 head-sized pieces of Ling Jing to advance from 6th stage to 7th stage. Now, he would need to spend about 300 head-sized pieces of Ling Jing to advance from 7th stage to 8th stage. If he continued to advance, it would be a lot more. Relying on the number of Ling Jing left here, he estimated that he could advance a small level, and there would still be some left. These leftovers were of no use to Xia Qingfeng, Zhao De, and Lu Xiong. Even if he gave all of them to them, they would not be of much use. Their cultivation was already high enough, and the lowest was at the 9th heaven of the Zephyr realm. As for Xiaoyu, he was in the sea of consciousness realm. Cultivating with him would not consume much Ling Jing. Moreover, it would have a great effect. Perhaps he would be able to raise his cultivation by several small levels in one go. "Brother Lin, you've already given us a Kirin treasure medicine. Now, how can you still let little you use the Ling Jing?" Xia Qingfeng shook her head. "It's all right," Lin Tian said with a smile. Xiaoyu's personality was similar to Bai Qiu's. Along the way, he had also been very respectful to him. Now that he could take care of him, he would naturally do so. In the end, Xiaoyu leaned over with a joyful expression. "But, little brother, if you cultivate here directly, what if that spirit demon comes? It'll disturb you," Zhao De said. During the process of cultivation, cultivators must remember to disturb others. Moreover, that spirit demon was very powerful. Zhao De and Lu Xiong were very worried. "It's fine. I've set up some restrictions outside, so it can't come in. Also, you guys stand here and don't go out. Lin Tiandao. As he spoke, he drew a rough area for the few of them and let them stay within the area he drew. Okay, we'll also guard you from the side, although we might not need to, Lu Xiong said. Xia Qingfeng stood at the side and looked around. He was already acting as a guard. Lin Tianyi smiled and said goodbye to Xia Xiaoyu. Then he sat down cross-legged beside the Lingjing pile and directly channeled the 4 extreme scriptures. For a moment, a faint light penetrated his body. The Lingjing around him trembled, and the light of Lingjing continued to pour into his body. I'll do it too, Xia Xiaoyu said, sat down about 10 feet away from Lin Tian, and also began to cultivate seriously. Compared to Lin Tian, the light of spirit qi that was pouring into Xia Xiaoyu's body at this moment was too weak. If the light of Lingjing that was pouring into Lin Tian's body was compared to a vast galaxy, then the spiritual light that was pouring into Xia Xiaoyu's body was just a small stream. Xia Qingfeng and the other 2 silently guarded the surroundings, forming a triangle to protect Lin Tian. They looked around vigilantly. Then, in the blink of an eye, a violent roar sounded. The spirit demon rushed over again. Its silver eyes were filled with anger, and it rushed towards Lin Tian with a ferocious and murderous aura. To this spirit demon, these spirit crystals were its rations. Now, someone was actually snatching its rations to survive. It let out a loud roar and rushed straight towards Lin Tian and Lu Xiong. Stop it, Xia Qingfeng said in a low voice. Although Zhao De and Lu Xiong were trembling, they still gripped the weapons in their hands tightly. However, in the next moment, a black light screen suddenly appeared in the void in front of them. With a bang, the spirit demon that was rushing towards them was sent flying. It once again tumbled over 10 feet away and slammed into a pitch-black cave wall on the opposite side. Xia Qingfeng and the other 2 were shocked. Before Lin Tian started to cultivate, he said that he had set up a restriction here so they didn't have to worry about the spirit demon rushing over. At this moment, the 3 of them saw it with their own eyes. They didn't expect it to be so strong that it directly sent the spirit demon flying. On the opposite side, the spirit demon roared. The murderous aura in its silver eyes became denser, and it rushed towards this place crazily. Unfortunately, the black barrier was too powerful and shockingly sturdy. The more it tried to crash into it, the further it was sent flying. On Lin Tian's shoulder, the shrunken black flood dragon's eyes were indifferent as it coldly stared at the spirit demon that was crashing into the black barrier. The spirit demon roared and kept crashing, but it was useless. Gradually, Xia Qingfeng and the other 2 calmed down and looked at Lin Tian in surprise. Little brother is really a god, Zhao De said. At this moment, they were completely relieved. The dragon burial light screen was pitch black and gave off a heavy feeling. No matter how the spirit demon crashed into it, it was still intact. Inside the light screen, beside Lingjing, Lin Tian's body flickered with silver light, and his aura rose bit by bit. Due to the existence of the black dragon burial light screen, he was fully immersed in cultivation at this moment. This light screen was a restriction set up by him using the dragon burial scripture to draw in the strange power of this underground world. It was purely for defense, and it was definitely not something that a half-step Great Path level cultivator could break. Moreover, before he started cultivating, he had also sent a message to the Black Flood Dragon, asking it to pay attention to its surroundings. After all, he was going to be immersed in cultivation, and it was necessary to be completely safe. He sat cross-legged and channeled the 4 extreme meridians. Around him, the spirit qi contained in Lingjing jumped like a Milky Way, which was absorbed into his body in a frenzy. At the same time, he immersed his consciousness in his body, guiding the Lingjing's aura into his spiritual ether. He seriously refined his spiritual ether and wiped out the impurities in it. Cultivation at the airborne realm was like this. He had to refine his spiritual ether over and over again, causing his spiritual ether to transform again and again. The silver light was very pure. Strands of light were intertwined outside his body, forming specks of light. At the same time, behind him, a large number of Lingjing was also quickly consumed. Outside the dragon burial light screen, the spirit demon roared. After seeing this scene, it attacked the light screen even more crazily. Unfortunately, it was of no use at all. This dragon burial light screen was set up by Lin Tian, drawing in the majestic strange power underground of this cave. This strange power was very tyrannical. At this moment, the spirit demon was fighting against the general force of this place. Moreover, this general force was only focused on defense. As such, how could it be easily broken? What a powerful restriction! Zhao was shocked. He blocked the spirit demon's attacks time and time again. But the black light screen in front of him did not even have a single crack. Time passed by bit. Soon, 10 hours had passed. After 10 hours, more than half of the original large number of Lingjing disappeared. In terms of quantity, there were about a dozen people's heads left. It was also at this time that a strong force rushed out from Lin Tian's body, and with a bang, it spread in all directions. A light flashed in Xia Qingfeng's eyes. The 8th layer of the airborne realm, but this spiritual ether is so pure. It's too pure. Although Lin Tian's cultivation was at the 8th celestial layer of the imperial sky realm, his true essence was too pure, which shocked Xia Qingfeng. Moreover, it was not only pure. Judging from the aura spreading out of Lin Tian's body, Lin Tian's spiritual ether was also shockingly rich. So strong. Zhao De and Lu Xiong were naturally shocked. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Lin Tian opened his eyes. 2 rays of light flashed and disappeared. He could feel that he had stepped into the 8th layer of the airborne realm. He slightly clenched his fist and felt inside his body. He found that the spiritual ether had become purer, and his qi and blood had become more vigorous. His strength had greatly improved compared to the 7th layer of the airborne realm. Only his physical strength had not changed much. Shaking his head, he closed his eyes again and relied on the remaining Lingjing to consolidate the 8th layer of the airborne realm. In this way, another 2 hours passed before he stood up. "Congratulations, Brother Lin." Xia Qingfeng stepped forward and said. Zhao De and Lu Xiong naturally also congratulated him. At this time, there was another roar. Xia Xiaoyu opened her eyes, blinked, and stood up. With a very happy look, she jumped to Lin Tian's side and said, "Thank you, Brother Lin. I've improved by 3 small levels." After 12 hours of cultivation, she directly went from the 2nd layer of the spiritual ether to the 5th layer of the spiritual ether. Her progress could be said to be a little shocking. "Congratulations." Lin Tian smiled. At this time, a roar sounded, mixed with hostility and ferocity. The spirit demon's silver pupils stared in this direction, shocked and angry. Lin Tian and Xia Xiaoyu had consumed all the Lingjing here. These were originally things that it wanted to enjoy. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked over, a faint light flashing in his eyes. "Looking at you, it's impossible for you to be kind." Lin Tian said, "Then bury it." In the past, Celestial Venerable Zonglong had buried a spirit demon in the chaotic realm. No, that level should be called a spirit emperor. He could not bury a spirit emperor now, but with the help of the majestic strange power here, killing a spirit demon that was half a step away from the great path was not a big problem. This kind of creature was too evil. If it continued to grow stronger, it would definitely be a disaster. Chapter 608. The dragon-shaped swords were densely packed together. It was as if a sword-like group of dragons were charging. The scene was frightening. Clang! The sound of a sword whistling could be heard. The dragon-shaped swords soared through the air and rushed over. Such a scene could be said to be a little frightening, causing Zhao De and Lu Xiong's expressions to change. Even someone as calm as Xia Qingfeng was shocked. Such power was too strong. It was as if it could destroy everything. The spirit demon roared, and the red hair on its body trembled. A blood-like radiance was produced, and its murderous aura was oppressive as it pressed down on Lin Tian. Chi, chi, chi. A crisp sound could be heard. It was as if a flame had been extinguished. The murderous aura of the spirit demon was completely annihilated. The dragon-shaped sword soared through the air and directly pierced into the spirit demon's body. With a bang, it was sent flying several feet away. So strong! Xia Xiaoyu was shocked. She stared at Lin Tian with stars in her eyes. She was full of admiration. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent. He took a step forward and controlled more dragon-shaped swords, slashing at the spirit demon that was rolling away. These large swords were all formed from the boundless, mysterious power of the underground world, and each of them contained an extremely dense power. Even though the spirit demon was very strong, it was still unable to contend against such a dense number of large swords. In the blink of an eye, it was swept away again. Rolling on the ground, the spirit demon roared, and the murderous aura on its body became even stronger. With a wild roar, the red hair on its body stood up. A portion of it fell off and stabbed toward Lin Tian like red golden needles. Even hair can fly out to attack. Lu Xiong trembled. Lin Tian didn't move. He raised his right hand, and the dragon pattern on his palm flickered. With a tremor in the air, a large amount of dark light rushed up, forming a solid defensive barrier that blocked all the red hair of the spirit demon that pierced through the void. Then, he clenched his right hand, and the dark light barrier turned into a huge palm that slammed down on the spirit demon. Bang! With a loud bang, the powerful spirit demon was directly sent flying. Blood splattered in the air. Zhao De and Lu Xiong were stunned. The spirit demon that was half a step into the great Dao realm was so weak in Lin Tian's hands. The spirit demon roared. With a whoosh, it disappeared in front of them, sinking into the ground. He disappeared again. Lu Xiong looked around vigilantly. Lin Tian's eyes flickered. His right leg trembled, and a streak of blood-red light shot out about 10 feet in front of him. It was the spirit demon. It's actually attacking from underground? I didn't feel it at all. Zhao De was so scared that he took a step back. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent. With a clang, the black light rushed up and condensed into the endless dragon-shaped sword again. Swish! 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 The dragon-shaped greatsword pierced through the void and slashed straight at the spirit demon, sealing off all directions. This was a powerful attack, relying on the boundless strange force under the mountain cave and the dragon marks to seal the surroundings. Lin Tian trapped the spirit demon in the center. He formed a seal with both hands, causing even more dark light to rush up and press down on the spirit demon. With a loud bang, the spirit demon let out a miserable cry and was sent flying again. Slash! Lin Tiandao. His voice was calm. Under the ground, the rest of the dragon-shaped great swords all slashed at the spirit demon. In the blink of an eye, the spirit demon was pierced. Blood splattered all over the ground. It was as miserable as it could be. It had suffered great injuries. It stared at Lin Tian again. At this moment, there was finally a trace of fear in the spirit demon's eyes. The human in front of it was clearly only in the flight realm, but it seemed that he could easily kill it. It let out a roar. Its body swayed, and it disappeared into the ground again. Is he attacking from underground again? Zhao De immediately became vigilant. However, this time, the spirit demon did not rush out. Lin Tian's eyes were filled with a sharp light. He suddenly stared at the front of the cave. Trying to escape? Don't even think about it. He moved his feet and instantly moved dozens of feet away. His right foot stomped on the ground, and suddenly, a group of dark light spread out. With a bang, the ground dozens of feet in front of him cracked. The spirit demon was shaken out, bringing with it a large amount of red blood. Staring at Lin Tian walking over, the spirit demon panicked and escaped into the ground again. You can't escape. Lin Tian was very calm. He had covered the underground world with dragon patterns. At this moment, after reaching the 8th heaven of the flight realm, his strength was very strong, and he could control the dragon patterns better. At this time, relying on the dragon patterns he had injected into the ground previously, he would not lose track of the spirit demon again. He moved with his feet. Soon, he forced the spirit demon out again. Spirit demons were too evil. Even those who had reached the chaos realm had no kindness. As such, they must not be left alive. Although they were favored by the heavens, if they were evil, then they should be buried. Poof! The dragon traversing sword swept across and sent the spirit demon flying again. So strong. This is simply comparable to a god. Zhao De and Lu Xiong were shocked. At this time, the group was following behind Lin Tian. Looking at the scene in front of them, even Xia Qingfeng was stunned. Lin Tian, a flight realm cultivator, was actually chasing a spirit demon that was comparable to a half-step Great Dao realm cultivator. Brother Lin is so powerful. Xia Xiaoyu had a look of admiration. In front of them, Lin Tian's eyes were very calm. At this moment, walking in this cave, the majestic strange power underground was mobilized by him. He once again felt unprecedentedly powerful, no different from when he was at the Feather Sect and God Burial Mountain. At this time, he had already chased far away. He did not know where in this cave he had gone. At this place, the surrounding light became dim again, and it was much darker than when he first entered the cave. Even though he was a powerful cultivator, in this place, it was difficult for him to see very far. Clang! The dragon-shaped sword was ear-piercing, and once again, the spirit demon was forced out. Blood splattered everywhere again. The spirit demon growled, and its aura became weak to the bottom. Its body was covered in blood, and it was shocked and terrified, trembling with fear. That spirit demon can't escape anymore, Zhao De said. Staring ahead, Zhao De could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. A half-step Great Dao realm spirit demon was going to be killed in front of him now. At Lin Tian's feet, dark light surged and quickly rushed up, condensing into a super dragon-shaped sword that was 30 feet long. Without saying anything, he channeled all the power he had mobilized from the cave into the 30 feet long dragon-shaped sword. He raised his right hand and slashed forward. However, in the next moment, he suddenly trembled. His back instantly turned cold, and his body could not help but tremble. At the same time, behind him, Xia Qingfeng, Zhao De, Lu Xiong, and Xia Xiaoyu were all trembling in fear and horror. In front of them, in a place unknown to them, there was darkness. However, in this endless darkness, a pair of blue eyes suddenly lit up. They were deep, cold, and ruthless, as if they could devour everything in the world. These blue eyes seemed to see through eternity and landed on Lin Tian and the others. With a crack, the dragon-shaped sword that Lin Tian condensed was instantly shattered, turning into wisps of starlight and dissipating. Cold sweat fell from Lin Tian's forehead like rain. Facing this pair of blue eyes, at this moment, he could not even move a finger. Only a coldness that seemed to be able to freeze everything rushed up from the soles of his feet and spread to his entire body in an instant. This feeling was something that he had never felt even when facing the Nether Demon Dragon, which was comparable to a peak Nirvana realm powerhouse. Behind him, the others were naturally the same, especially Xia Xiaoyu. His cultivation was the weakest, and he was on the verge of fainting. Even though the black dragon on his shoulder had reached the half-step Great Dao realm, it was also frightened at this moment and could not stop trembling. The blue eyes looked over with incomparable coldness. Facing this gaze, Lin Tianji felt that his heart was about to stop beating. His entire body was cold. At this moment, he felt tormented, incomparable torment. Time passed by bit by bit. At this moment, they all felt that the flow of time was too slow. In a breath, it was as if a year had passed. After an unknown period of time, the blue eyes in front of them finally closed slowly. The place once again fell into endless darkness. Lin Tian felt as if a 10,000-kilogram boulder had been removed from his back. His entire body was on the verge of collapse as he gasped for breath. Behind him, Zhao De and the others were naturally the same. Xia Xiaoyu even went limp. "Let's go," he said with a trembling voice. It was not that he was afraid, but his body's instincts made it difficult for him to remain calm. At this moment, he did not even care about killing the spirit demon and slowly retreated. Zhao De and the others were all frightened, trembling as they moved back. After an unknown period of time, the five of them finally left this place and walked out of the cave. After that, the group of people did not stop. They continued to move forward until they could no longer see any traces of the mountain cave. Only then did they stop. They fell to the ground and gasped for breath. Cold sweat continuously dripped onto the ground, and their faces were snow white. What is that? What is that? Lu Xiong trembled. Lin Tian's body also trembled slightly, and he could not calm down. Those blue eyes were the same size as a normal human, but they were terrifying. Just looking at them made him feel as if his body would shatter and he would die at any time. He had a feeling that the owner of those blue eyes could easily destroy everything. Among the people he knew, probably only the Violet Fairy could deal with it. He forced his body to stop trembling and took hundreds of deep breaths before he finally managed to calm down. Let's go out," he said. Let's go. Lu Xiong replied with a trembling voice. Zhao De also quickly stood up. They really did not want to stay in this place for a moment longer. Immediately, Lin Tian led the way while Xia Qingfeng supported Xia Xiaoyu. Zhao De and Lu Xiong followed behind as they walked out of the ancient vein. They walked for another 5 days. After 5 days, the group finally stepped out of the immortal demon ancient vein, and they all let out a long sigh. After 5 days, the group's spirit, chi, and spirit had all recovered. "It's too scary. I will never come here again in my life. This place is simply a demonic realm." Lu Xiong shrunk his neck and said, "I'm not coming either," Xia Xiaoyu muttered. 5 days ago, those blue eyes had almost caused her soul to collapse. It took her 3 days to recover. Lu Xiong wiped off his cold sweat, obviously feeling the same way. Xia Qingfeng smiled and rubbed Xia Xiaoyu's head. She was the calmest person here other than Lin Tian. "Then, let's part ways here," Lin Tian said. He had already obtained 100 pieces of lingjing the size of a human head. Now he only wanted to go to the divination pavilion to find the oracle and ask him to calculate the whereabouts of Bai Qiu and Bai Ziki. Chapter 609. At the edge of the immortal demon ancient range, a group of people bid farewell to each other. Xia Qingfeng and the other 3 expressed their gratitude to Lin Tian one after another. "Brother Lin, my brother, and I will come out to play with you in a while." Xia Xiaoyu waved at Lin Tian from afar. Xia Qingfeng's expression was very gentle as she nodded at Lin Tian with a smile. Lin Tian keenly sensed that the siblings were not ordinary. They had a noble aura about them, and their origins should not be simple. However, he did not ask them anything. "We'll meet again if fate wills it." He smiled at the 2 of them. After that, the few of them parted ways, each of them following a different path. Lin Tian flew for 1,000 feet before he could not help but stop and look in the direction of the immortal demon ancient range again. "That pair of eyes," he whispered to himself. That pair of blue eyes was too terrifying. He stood at the base of a large tree and looked at the depths of the immortal demon ancient range for a long time before retracting his gaze. "Forget it." Shaking his head, he stopped thinking about it and left again. He had found 100 pieces of lingjing the size of a human head. He should be able to find Bai Qiu and Bai Ziki's whereabouts now. He stepped on the void and moved very quickly. In a flash, he was dozens of feet away. Time passed in a flash. 3 days passed in a flash. 3 days later, Lin Tian returned to Tomb Pond City and walked into the divine secret pavilion in the ancient city. "You're here." The girl, was still wearing a long green dress. She looked fresh and refined. She walked up and greeted Lin Tian with a faint smile. There were many other people in the divine secret pavilion. Naturally, they all saw Lin Tian and were all shocked. Lin Tian, he's the dragon-seeking family and the phaseless immortal sect are all looking for him. How could he appear so openly? Many people were shocked. Lin Tian nodded at Yer. He did not care about the others' expressions and walked to the side to wait in line. Suddenly, the people in front of him trembled slightly. Um, Monsieur, I suddenly remembered something. I'll go back first. I'll visit another day. I think I want to buy some pills. How did I end up here? Oh no, I seem to be going through the immortal connecting tribulation. Monsieur, I'm really sorry, but I have to leave immediately. Lin Tian was now a great fiend. Both the phaseless immortal sect and the dragon-seeking family were looking for him. These people did not want to stand together with Lin Tian, as they were worried that they would attract some big trouble. In the blink of an eye, the crowd dispersed. Lin Tian. He tilted his head and looked at Yer. The girl didn't say anything. Her expression was very calm, as if she had already known that this would happen. She extended her right hand and gestured to Lin Tian in the direction of the small room covered by the bamboo curtain. Lin Tian nodded apologetically. Only then did she lift the bamboo curtain in front of her and walk in. The marvelous mathematician was sitting inside. He seemed to have known Lin Tian's arrival. He said softly, "Sit." Lin Tian sat down and took out the ling jing that he had prepared. He put it in a small stone ring and handed it to the marvelous mathematician. "Sorry to trouble you, senior." Although the middle-aged man's face was pale and his vitality was weak, he was not simple. "It's just a normal transaction," the marvelous mathematician said. The marvelous mathematician took the small stone ring from Lin Tian and put it away without even checking it. Lin Tian looked at the marvelous mathematician seriously. After the marvelous mathematician put away the stone ring, he raised his right hand and made a few strange movements. After that, there was nothing special about him. Soon, dozens of breaths passed. At this moment, Lin Tian was shocked. He felt that the marvelous mathematician's vitality had weakened a little, and his face was even paler. "Senior Yu," he frowned slightly. The marvelous mathematician put down his right hand and said, "It's nothing." Lin Tian nodded and asked again. Then, "Senior, have you calculated the whereabouts of my two friends? Where are they now?" "The fourth heaven," the marvelous mathematician said. "What?" Lin Tian was shocked again. "The fourth heaven? The brother and sister are no longer in this heaven? Have they gone to a higher heaven? How long have they been away from the third heaven?" he asked. The marvelous mathematician's voice was calm. "A year ago, they entered the barbarian land through the transmission array of the Purple Firmament Dynasty and entered the fourth heaven through the barbarian land's space-time portal." Lin Tian was a little stunned. Regarding the situation of the third heaven, he has studied the ancient books in the Emergence Tao Gate. He knows that the space-time portal leading to the fourth heaven is located in the barbarian land. If he wants to go from this heaven to the fourth heaven, he must first enter the barbarian land. The prosperous continent and the barbarian land are separated by a heavenly river. Even great Tao realm powerhouses can't pass through. They can only use some treasures and use the transmission array of the three dynasties to reach the barbarian land and find the space-time portal to enter the fourth heaven. He didn't expect that the brother and sister had already gone to the fourth heaven. For a moment, he was really a little stunned. After a pause, he asked again, "Senior, may I ask if my two friends are safe now?" The elder brother is at the sixth stage of the connecting immortal realm, and the younger sister is at the early stage of the connecting immortal realm. Master, godly mathematician said. Lin Tian was moved and couldn't help but cry out so fast. Baiziki had reached the sixth level of the connecting immortal realm. Bai Qiu had reached the early stage of the connecting immortal realm. This cultivation speed made him even more confused. When they parted, the gap between them wasn't that big. Moreover, his cultivation level was higher than Bai Qiu's. There are many fortuitous encounters in the world. It's normal for fated people to make great progress. Master, godly mathematician said. Lin Tian gaped. Bai Ziki and Bai Qiu had a fortuitous encounter? It was at this point that Master God Diviner coughed up some blood. Lin Tian immediately came back to his senses. "Senior Yu." Master God Diviner shook his head and wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth. King bodies are all people with great luck. They are known as the favored children of heaven and earth. To calculate them, one must pay a great price. Master God Diviner said. Lin Tian's expression suddenly changed. Not only did this middle-aged man calculate the siblings' whereabouts and movements, but he also calculated that they had king bodies. This person was not simple. In fact, to a certain extent, he was very terrifying. Senior, I'm sorry to have made you suffer, he said. Master God Diviner shook his head and remained calm. You paid the price. It's only right that I tell you what you want to know. Lin Tian nodded and thanked him again. He could feel that Master God Diviner's chi and blood had weakened a lot. If he really wanted to calculate this, it would definitely be more than 100 pieces. Even if he asked for 1,000 pieces of Lingjing's head, it wouldn't be too much. He paused for a moment and couldn't help but ask, I heard that there was once a dynasty that wanted to invite you to join them, but you refused. Why? Joining that dynasty seems to be much better than staying here. Then he added, I'm just a little confused. If I've offended you in any way, please forgive me. Master God Diviner looked at Lin Tian and shook his head, indicating that it didn't matter. Lin Tian relaxed and asked, Senior, why did you refuse? He was indeed very curious and couldn't figure it out. Logically speaking, with Master God Diviner's ability, even if he joined a dynasty, his status wouldn't be low. Even if he didn't get wind and rain, he would get rain and rain. It would be more than 10,000 times better than calculating trivial matters for people here. Master God Diviner looked at Lin Tian and didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, if I didn't join a dynasty and join the phaseless immortal sect or the Dragon Seeker clan, they would definitely ask me to calculate your whereabouts, your position, your trump cards, and your thoughts. Then they would send powerhouses to hunt you down. No matter where you run, you won't be able to hide. No matter where you hide, you won't be able to hide. In the end, they would kill you. What do you think? You and I have no enmity. When the time comes, will you hate me? Lin Tian was shocked, his expression immediately changing. Although Master God Diviner didn't answer directly, he understood. A superpower would always have a dark side, and there would always be some things that couldn't be seen in the light. If Master God Diviner was involved in these matters, he would inevitably have to help. Master God Diviner refused the dynasty's invitation because he didn't want to be in the dark one day. This made Lin Tian feel deep veneration, and he bowed again. Senior is a virtuous person. Lin Tian has learned a lot. Master God Diviner shook his head. I'm just afraid of retribution. In all things in the world, those who do evil don't necessarily have bad karma, and those who do good don't necessarily have a good ending. Senior, you have great power, but you don't want to put yourself in the dark one day. Instead, you live alone in this small place, and you calculate many things for people for a low price every day. How can you say that you're afraid of retribution is enough to evaluate you? Senior, you're too modest. Lin Tian said seriously. Master God Diviner looked at Lin Tian, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Then, he returned to calmness. Lin Tian stayed in the hut for a long time and asked about Bai Qiu and Bai Ziki before getting up and leaving. Thank you, Senior. He thanked him. It's my duty. Master God Diviner shook his head and revealed a rare smile. I hope you can get rid of all the grievances. Lin Tian Wei bowed slightly and thanked him again before leaving. How was it? The girl, stood in the room and asked when she saw Lin Tian come out. Senior, you've solved all my doubts. Lin Tian on Dao. Senior Almighty. He said those words with great sincerity. In this world, there were not many people who could make him truly respect and admire, and this Master God Diviner was definitely one of them. The girl had a quiet smile on her face, and she looked very calm. Be careful of the people from the dragon-seeking family. Recently, they have been looking for you crazily, even more urgently than the phaseless immortal sect. The girl said. Lin Tian nodded. He naturally understood why the people from the dragon-seeking family were so eager to find him. The fact that he had the complete dragon burial scripture had been exposed. How could the people from the dragon-seeking family remain calm? It was reasonable for them to be more anxious than the phaseless immortal sect. He had long expected that the people from the dragon-seeking family would make a move on him. "Thank you, miss," he said. The girl shook her head with a faint smile. Lin Tian said goodbye to the girl and walked out of the Tianji pavilion. The fourth heaven, he whispered to himself. Thinking about it, he should improve his strength as soon as possible so that he could go to a higher heaven. After coming back to his senses, he left the Tianji pavilion and walked out of the Tianji pavilion, then walked towards the distance. Someone is following behind. At this time, the Black Flood Dragon transmitted, "You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."